Good morning. Good morning. Amazing law nerd. It's Tuesday. Gosh, it's like the end of September. It's September 24th, 2024. I don't know how we got here. I don't know how it's the end of September. I am not prepared. It still doesn't feel like fall. It's a million degrees and raining. It feels like the tropics. So today we have lots to cover. We have updates, quick updates, asterisks. Emily quick updates. We have Emily style quick updates in the Kouri Richins case, a quick update in the Donna Adelson case, which you've probably seen while I was in New York. We have like 3 or 4 updates in the Karen Reed case, including some officer discipline. And we have the discipline letter situation. So we're going to go over that. You know how much I love it when there's official documents and not just reporting. I'm like, let's go to the official documents. And then Baldwin, of course, responded to Kari Morrissey's motion or meltdown, your pick. And I've been wanting to cover it. But of course, we've been dealing with all things Diddy. So we have lots to do today. Tomorrow, we have another Diddy episode of the Emily Show because they filed updated briefing on his detention hearing. It was the second detention hearing. We know it was denied. I don't think that's the most interesting part of the judge, like what the judge ruled. We knew it was going to be denied. I think I said that the day before in last week's podcast, but how the defense argued it, I find interesting. And then the government kind of clapped back a bit. And I was like, oh, this is going to get spicy. Then I wanted to take a look at one of Diddy's civil suits where he filed a motion to dismiss so we can all decide how well it aged together. So that's on Wednesday. Thursday, we're going to court. We have Thursday things to do. I have cat glitter. George, this cat has decided today that I am his human, but like today only. And that started at like 4:00 this morning with George being like, now is the perfect time to cuddle because you are trapped in your bed. So I am going to cuddle you. I am going to wake you up. You are going to actively pet me. You cannot just lay there while I lay on you. And I am going to, headbutt you until you pay attention to me. And then George was like, I am going to, drool and purr and make all of the noises, which as the sound sensitive neurospicy folks we are, sometimes all of the sounds I'm just like, George, 4 a.m. It's 4 a.m. It's 4 a.m. And he's like, yeah, it's 4 a.m. You're clearly lonely and you need me. So George has been very much deciding that I am his human. I'm like, can you go back to waking up the teenager, please? And not the Emily, but no, I am the George human. So at the moment, we are a little bit tired. So Thursday, we're going to court. We might be going to court twice on Thursday. I'll keep you posted. There's 2 hearings on Thursday. I think I'll be able to cover both of them. So Thursday might be a little bit of a longer day, but I'm like, well, maybe we just do both. I'm not going to be around Friday, and I've got some team members coming to Nashville. I've got some concerting to do this weekend. So maybe we just kind of double up on Thursday. So I'll keep you posted on what we're doing on Thursday. I think we might double up on Thursday. So we're going to cover for sure the Kari Morrissey, Jason Bowles hearing in Hannah's case. And then the Idaho hearing should be pretty quick, but I want to see the new judge in Idaho. Don't you? Like, I kind of want to see the new judge in Idaho. So that's what we're going to be doing. I think on Thursday, we're going to see if we can double it up or not. We'll see where we are by Thursday morning, and I'll keep you posted. I'll keep you in the loop. So it's really, I'm used to pulling my ear to put my in-ears in, but I have a new piercing in this ear over there. So I can't pull my ear to put my in-ears in the way I'm used to. I added a chain to this ear. I'm very excited with some of the new piercings. Look, there are things I love about New York. Everything is accessible. Like everything is available, but also nothing is easy. Like if it's not within like brief walking distance, nothing is easy. Traversing, I don't know how New Yorkers do it. I don't know how they do it. I would be a cranky New Yorker too if it was like, everything is hard. Everything is hard. But I enjoy getting to visit and getting to go back home. So Kim Zuti, yes, they are Maria Tosh. I love Maria Tosh. Like love. We're gonna roll the intro, and then we are going to get into some very. I'm going to try to make them quick because I have a feeling that we are going to have a lot to say about these Baldwin motions, and I'm going to be talking forever. So we should just go.
Hey there, I'm Emily D. Baker, the internet's go-to legal analyst, breaking down the legal side of the pop culture and entertainment stories we can't stop talking about. I'm a big fan of the cursey words. I've been a licensed attorney for over 17 years, but this is not legal advice. This is where the law nerds unite to talk about facts, not... Let's get into it.
So let's start with some quick Kouri Richins updates. And this was, Emily put it into her brain when she was in the Eastern time zone. And then I was in the Central time zone, and then I missed things by an hour. But I was able to go and find most of the hearing and the updates from the court's website. So Kouri Richins very much wants to have another hearing on detention. So they want the court to reconsider whether or not she will remain detained any further before trial in April. I think it will be unusual if the court grants a release at this point, but the prosecution had formally declined to make this a DP case, even though it is a capital case. So it could be a DP case, but they are pursuing life in prison. So I think that is what her new defense attorneys would like to do, and have a new detention hearing and see if they can have her released before trial. They're probably going to argue it will help them prepare for trial, et cetera, et cetera. So they want her released. That hearing is set for later this month. And then where is my other update? Did I open the right file? No, but we're going to roll with it. And then they want to have their motions hearing. They made a lot of conversation about the fact that they very much want to have a change of venue motion. And the defense was trying to ask the court, so how many affidavits do you want? How many surveys do you want? And the court's like, I'm not going to prejudge, and I can't tell you what I need to see. You need to present me your case, and I decided. There's no test of, I need this one thing or I need that one thing. There's not a formula for this. You need to meet the threshold that's needed to show that this must change venue, and that will depend. So make your case, and then asked if they were going to be doing surveys. So we've got a couple pretrial motions that are going to be coming up in this case. Keep in mind that as they get to trial, unless there is a stipulation, there's also going to be some motion argument over how many jurors to have. For those of you in Utah, you may know this. For those of you elsewhere in the country, you probably don't. But not everywhere in the US do you get 12 jurors. So by statute, in non-capital cases, in cases where they are not pursuing the death penalty, you get 8. So there are jury selection should go pretty quick. You're only selecting 8 folks. So that's not nearly as many. So I will be interested to see how jury selection goes when they are only selecting 8 jurors. But the defense has already indicated they're going to ask the court for 12 because they would like 12. And the statute says 8. So 8. So that's all the things Kouri Richins. We will go to court for Kouri Richins when she is back in court for the next hearing, which will be the detention hearing. The initial detention hearing was really interesting. I covered that on the channel. So we'll go from there. Jolene said no alternates. There will be alternates, but the seated jurors will be 8 unless the court grants them leave to have 12 deliberating jurors. So 8 deliberating jurors. So that's what they are contemplating as we are getting closer to the April 2025 trial. It feels weird to sit here in September saying closer to the April 2025 trial, but trust it will be here before we know it, hands down at all. Let's take a quick swoop. We've got some new swoop graphics for you. You'll have to let me know what you think, but we're going to go swoop and talk briefly about Donna Adelson. All right, Donna Adelson. Donna Adelson was supposed to be in trial this week. Donna Adelson is not in trial this week. Why? Well, it seems that the defense attorneys who represented Charlie Adelson said that they had, clearance and waivers from Charlie Adelson that they could both represent his mom and represent him. And we know they had waivers from Donna Adelson. She stood in court and waived multiple times, like, these are the lawyers I want, these are the lawyers I want, these are the lawyers I want. Well, attorney-client privilege extends beyond you being in trial. And Charlie Adelson was like, no, like, nah. Like, no, literally nah, fam. I don't consent to your defense team with my former defense attorney on it cross-examining me if I'm a witness for the state. And the state was like, I am trying to get this case to trial because this delay is going to cost them tens of thousands of dollars and up. They transported everyone out of custody. They got all their witnesses ready. They got their law enforcement ready. They were ready for trial. And they're like, can we please just go to trial? But after an extended hearing, the court was like, no, this is a problem. We have to have new defense counsels for Donna Adelson. Everyone knew this the second that she had her son's attorneys become her attorneys. And everyone thought, it seemed assumed, that Charlie Adelson had waived. Well, it wasn't like a waiver. It was like a conversation. He never really signed the waiver, and he never really said it was going to be, fine if he was cross-examined. Everyone saw this conflict a million miles away. All of the law nerds that are like, I mean, I'm not a lawyer, but isn't that a conflict? Yes. Yes. And it came to a head on the eve of trial. And the judge, you could tell, this judge has such an even demeanor, but you could tell he's like, I'm not pleased. Like, he has such an even demeanor. So for all of you asking, and I see a lot of you asking, was this a delay tactic? No, I don't think it was. I think this caught Donna Adelson completely off guard. Charlie Adelson seems to have new appellate counsel. I think the new appellate counsel came in and was like, this is not okay, and you need to not do this, and you're the one facing life in prison, and you've literally got to do you at this point. And so I think it was between Charlie and his new attorney. And I think previously Charlie had been like, it's fine. And maybe he just did not fully appreciate what it would be like for his attorney, who he had confidence with, to have all that information to cross-examine him. Donna was crying. She was pissed. This was the lawyer that she wanted. And I think this was Charlie Adelson putting his foot down. This never should have been Donna's lawyer. I wonder, and this is pure speculation on my part. Just join me for a moment while we wildly speculate on things. I wonder, and this is just by seeing this case, I wonder if Donna's like, he'll do whatever we say. He'll just, my Charlie, can you picture this? My Charlie will do this. My Charlie's not going to have a problem with this. I can picture her just being like, he'll do what I ask. And then he got new appellate counsel, and they were like, what the fuck you cannot do is this. And he was like, you're right. I can't do this. And that's how we got to the eve of trial. But the other attorneys said they talked to him, said they thought they had a waiver. Even if they did, even if they had a signed waiver, he still could have withdrawn it. He still could have said, I changed my mind. But I think Donna was assuring everybody that this was going to happen. And I think that Charlie was just like, no, I'm the one sitting in prison for life. I have to pursue my appellate rights. And I think the appellate attorneys are like, this is a terrible idea. Don't do this. So she very much wanted Rashbaum. Rashbaum is no longer her attorney. And so she got new counsel, and new counsel's like, I need a minute. But here's the tea on that. Not only is new counsel like, I need a minute, but new counsel's like, and maybe we can work out a deal. And the DA, the state's attorney, just released a statement. Let's play this real quick. Just released a statement that they're amenable to maybe talking plea deals with Donna Adelson. This is coming from the Tallahassee Democrat. Let's see if we can skip. whatever ads are in here. I'm probably going to have to refresh this. But the state attorney is like, you know what? Maybe we're down. Maybe we're down to talk about what a deal looks like with Donna Adelson now that the new defense attorney is like, hey, we're kind of down to talk about a deal.
Mr. Morris mentioned after court on Tuesday that with him taking over as lead counsel and Mr. Rashbaum leaving, that it could open the door to plea negotiations or negotiations with the state.
Sure. Mr. Morris is a great trial attorney. I think he, if he says that, I look forward to it. Once again, there's a reason why plea negotiations are supposed to be kept confidential, and so I'm not going to speak as to it at all. I can tell you, we probably 98, 99% of the cases this office handles are resolved through some type of negotiation. So we're willing to negotiate and talk. Have no fear. Nothing will be done without consultation with the Markell family. So there's nothing secret that will be done. We don't talk about it because, candidly, for negotiations to go back and forth, the law requires it to be confidential on both sides. So if he wants to begin negotiations, I would love to do negotiations. We negotiate on the overwhelming majority of our cases.
Right.
I look forward to talking to him about it. Once again, Ms. Kappelman will be the point on that, but I'm sure I will be consulted. But
yep,
there's nothing secret that's going to happen where this would be. And I think the fear of a lot of people watching this interview or reading the paper, if there was a negotiation, it would all come out before it was finalized. So we would notify the media, the family would know, and there's no secret deal. Everything will eventually come out. But
I appreciate that.
It begins in earnest through conversations back and forth. And so that would be just like we don't tell y'all while we're investigating a crime what our evidence is. We eventually show you our evidence in trial. That would be same with a plea negotiation, just like anytime y'all come and see us pleading a case out. The terms of the plea are all discussed. The family is consulted, and we'd be able to talk about it. But it's way too early at this point to anticipate if the negotiation.
I appreciate that he has made everyone aware. We are going to talk to the family, the victim's family, before we do anything. And we will let y'all know what we're doing. We're going to keep everybody in the loop if we do take a plea in the Donna Adelson case. Here's what it seems like to me based on all of the more vague statements we've gotten. It seems to me that Charlie Adelson's attorneys had no interest in talking to the state at all about a potential plea. And now that there is new lead counsel, it seems that new lead counsel is like, look, if we're going, and this is why conflicts exist, if we're going to have Donna Adelson's best interest in mind, that might mean yeeting Charlie Adelson under the bus, or at least being incredibly forthcoming about Charlie Adelson's involvement and how Donna Adelson wasn't as much involved. So that's what they're looking for here. And it's interesting to hear that there is a willingness from the state's attorney to have that conversation now, when it seems that before the defense attorneys weren't interested at all. So let's finish up this quick statement with the state's attorney. This is the head DA in their area in Tallahassee. So that's why he's like, I will probably be consulted. Like the line DA is who's going to be having these conversations. But at the end of the day, it'll run all the way up the flagpole to the boss.
Negotiations will go anywhere, and what any terms would be. That would be speculation at this point. And I heard that interview and watched it and was interested when I saw it. And so I look forward to talking to him. I've worked with him for 20 years now. I trust him when he says that that's an effort that he would like to take. Sounds good to me. But candidly, Ms. Adelson continues to have her Sixth Amendment right. So she may hire a totally different lawyer, or she could fire Mr. Morris. I don't know what she's going to do. And so I've learned over the years, don't count on anything until it's final. And so that's where right now,
including trial starting.
I think to use his word, he's regrouping. My guess is that she is too. We certainly are. And we'll take the next step when the next step gets there.
And when they say she's regrouping, Donna Adelson and her new attorney have to have a conversation about what they want to do next. But he gave an interview outside of the courthouse, her new defense attorney and was like, we want to talk to the state. We want to talk to the state. We're amenable to talking to the state. We need to regroup for trial. We need to reevaluate this with fresh eyes. And I appreciate it. Crystal, yes, the breathing in the prosecution video seems to me to be from the reporter who is sitting there probably holding a phone, making that recording and not having an external microphone attached to the phone. So the phone microphone would be picking up the person closest to the microphone. I heard that too. I have headphones on. So we will see what happens, but it seems that the elected state's attorney has a very favorable opinion of the new lead counsel and that they are willing to have conversations, which is more than has happened yet in this case. And that is something of note. So when will Donna Adelson actually go to trial? Unknown. Is there a new trial date set? Not yet. Will there be a pretrial conference as everybody regroups down the road to reset all these dates? Yes, but now there's a new lead attorney, and that new lead attorney may make different decisions than Donna Adelson's past attorneys did. Before we talk about Karen Reed, and we're going to talk about Karen Reed's new special prosecutor, what, if anything, that new special prosecutor will bring to the table. We're going to talk about the appeal. We're going to talk about officers being disciplined, which is a story I saw this morning as I was prepping the live stream. So we've got a lot of Karen Reed stuff, but we've got like 3 different things: appeal, new DA, new special prosecutor, and officers being disciplined. But before we get into that, our stream today has a sponsor. I'm just going to warn you, this sponsor, Law Nerds, has a gift that comes with it if you are one of the first 100 to download. So as we are going through our sponsor, if you are interested, there is a free gift within the game. So the first 100 to download using our link, which is pinned in the comment section, will get something a little bit special. And I'm going to tell you about that as we roll our sponsor, Midas Merge. A huge thank you to today's sponsor, Midas Merge. This will be your new favorite casual mobile game. I absolutely love it, and I'm not surprised because it's brought to you by the designers of The Sims 3 and 4. Midas Merge is a beautiful fantasy garden with the most adorable little creatures you will ever see. The gameplay is simple but robust, so you can really enjoy merging to create new things, not only eggs for new creatures, but new plants. And it has a really satisfying sense of completion when you get those huge merges and everything just goes swoop all into one thing. And a huge plus for me with Midas Merge is you can play completely offline. So if you love to sit back and watch a trial stream with a mobile game that is a lot of fun, Midas Merge is for you. And we have a very special gift for the first 100 Law Nerds to download Midas Merge. You will get a special creature created for us in-game, delivered within a couple of days. It's a purple mox fox named EDB Law Nerd, and it's so cute. So make sure you download Midas Merge now with the link down below or the QR code. And after downloading and playing the game, let me know your favorite creature, and I will share some of mine with you. So let's get back to today's stream. So I brought my Nintendo Switch on my trip to New York and was fully intending to keep up with my Animal Crossing Island, and literally played Midas Merge the entire time because there aren't a ton of casual mobile games you can play on the plane. And I very much enjoy it. I love a merge game. They're really fun. So for those of you that are interested in it, it is a very fun game. It is a very robust game. I do not sponsor games where I hit a threshold after the first hour or two of play where you can't progress in the game unless you pay real world money. Those aren't fun games for me. I've had a very robust experience with this game without feeling any need at all to buy in-game currency or anything like that, which is something I look for in a casual game experience. So hopefully you enjoy Law Nerds. I've been playing it. I'm going to have to really not pick up my phone while we are covering court tomorrow. But while I am watching reality TV, I am generally also casually gaming, and I love it. So, all right, Law Nerds, thank you to Midas Merge for sponsoring this stream. It is always nice to have stream sponsors because you never know what fuckery might be afoot when I stream. Who knows? Some media group could get all salty about stuff and try to take our streams down. We could get age gated on a video. Did any of you hit the age gate? It's now been resolved. We could get age gated on a video when all the news outlets don't get age gated, but then somehow we do. Adventures, but our sponsors allow us to just ride through all of the ups and downs of ridiculousness. So age gated, yes, Buffy. We did the Judge Jumper trial, the Redden trial, and it got you can't click into this video unless you've verified or signed into a YouTube account that you are over 18 plus, and you had to click through that. But internationally, that operates a little different than it does in the United States. So the video ended up essentially being blocked outside of the United States because it had an 18 plus age gate on it because of the video of him leaping over the bench. So they decided that him leaping over the bench warranted the entire video being marked 18 plus, that you couldn't get past that age gating. And in some countries was incredibly onerous to get past depending on the requirements by the law of other countries. And I'm like, excuse me. You can still watch this video on like other networks. It was 100%, because I got the timestamps. It was 100% the video shown in court of him jumping over the bench during opening statements. It was the Superman. That's what it is. It was the Superman style. That video played during opening statements is the timestamp that was the problem, not the audio in court. It was bananas. It's fixed now. But I was like, look, you can't just pick and choose. Like if you're going to decide this video is a problem, then this video is a problem across every platform it's on. But that video of him leaping Superman onto the bench went completely viral, and none of it got age gated. So anyway, I was less than thrilled about that and voiced that loudly. It was great that it happened right as I was getting ready to go to like YouTube headquarters in New York and go meet with the CEO of YouTube and the people in charge of everything at YouTube. I'm like, funny thing that happened. And I'm like, look, if we need to have parity. If it is a problem for one, it should be a problem for all, especially when it comes to news footage. If everyone's going to get blocked, fine. But if not everyone's going to get blocked, then not everyone should get blocked. So instead of blocking everyone else, they unblocked me. So that happened. I did meet with the CEO of YouTube. Neil was lovely. We talked a little bit about trials. Neil knew what I did on the platform and asked about the wide world of LawTube, but that's a conversation for another day because we have so many Karen Reed topics to get into, including this new special prosecutor, which is a surprise to me. So let's swoop into all of our Karen Reed topics for the day, shall we? All right, all of the Karen Reed topics for the day. There is a new special prosecutor. This is unusual to me. Generally, when there's a retrial, if at all possible, the prosecutor who did the original prosecution does the retrial. So I don't think we're going to get rid of all of the prosecution team, but we said it throughout this whole trial that Lally needed another attorney. I think this case needs fresh eyes on it 100%. So let's see. I just think that even with a new prosecutor, the evidence isn't going to get better. Like you look at the evidence that came in trial and you look at the, I want to be generous. You look at the experts that the state brought, and it's just not the same as the experts from the federal government. St. Elmo's Fire asks, can you walk into the YouTube office or make an appointment? You can't even make an appointment. You have to be brought in with an employee. So, and you have to, the security is high, but no, you cannot walk in. You cannot make an appointment. You have to go with an employee. But we're going to talk about that more on a members only. I have some photos and video and the rest of it from my day with Reed at YouTube. So there we go. I put this on reader mode because there's so much shit embedded and it's confusing to me. So, Whitey Bulger's former attorney named special prosecutor to lead Karen Reed's second trial. If that's not a fucking headline, I mean, if the Diddy stuff hadn't popped off, these would have been the top headlines. I mean, they were kind of a headline for a minute. Sorry, you're gonna have to hear the ice at the end of my pumpkin spice. I did get a pumpkin sticker on it this morning, which I thought was adorable. My Starbucks name, by the way, you guys, we had talked about this a lot during, I don't remember which trial it was that we were having other Emily problems. It might have been the Reed trial during the summer. So my Starbucks name is just under EDB. So Whitey Bulger's former attorney named special prosecutor to lead Karen Reed's second trial. This is from September 19th. The DA hires private defense attorney to lead retrial of Karen Reed. Look, there are definitely different trial styles. I don't think anyone would argue that Lally's style is a storytelling style. He is I don't know. I don't want to be insulting, but Lally's style is giving appellate lawyer, not compelling storytelling. And so it's giving more, I need to tell you every single detail to make sure that we don't miss anything and you get it. So he does not have a flair for storytelling the way that maybe the defense attorneys in this case do. And it was difficult sometimes to follow where the prosecution was even going. I was waiting for 4 weeks for where everybody sat at the varsity girls basketball game to be relevant in some way. It wasn't relevant at all. Ever. It's like, what did you eat that evening before you left your house? Stop it. Just, It was hard to follow. It was monotone. A lot of the points got lost, and I can't imagine how hard it was for the jury to follow in a hot courtroom. Can you imagine? I would have had my head back against the wall like this for 7 weeks trying to listen. Norfolk County District Attorney Michael Morrissey announced it's always the Morrisseys lately, announced Wednesday that he has appointed a special prosecutor to try Karen Reed at her second trial. Reed is scheduled for her second murder trial on January 27th, 2025. Don't write that in ink in your calendar. Just don't ink that in yet. That date is squishy. Prosecutors Adam Lally and Laura McLaughlin, who Lally didn't let handle a single witness. Laura McLaughlin did not get to handle a single witness. I think the only time we saw Laura McLaughlin arguing in court is when they were arguing that they could use Karen Reed looking for an attorney on her phone against her somehow. I think that's the only time we saw Laura argue during the trial in court. Now, Special Assistant District Attorney Hank Brennan will lead the prosecution for Reed's second trial and will work with Lally McLaughlin and Caleb Schillinger. Attorney Brennan is a highly respected and skilled former prosecutor and longtime defense attorney, kind of like Alan Jackson, with over 25 years of experience in state and federal courts and has expertise handling complex law enforcement matters. This case isn't complex at its heart. It becomes complex because of fuckery. Like, it's not a complex case at the heart of the case. Like, it's just not. This case should not be complex. The reason it's complex is because the investigation is poo. That's why it's complex. This is not a complex law enforcement. I mean, I guess the nonsense with all the text messages and all the officers that are in trouble, that's going to become pretty complex. Complex law enforcement matters. Quote, I assume full responsibility and all obligations for prosecuting this case and will do so meticulously, ethically, and zealously without compromise, Attorney Brennan wrote in a statement. Maybe just invest a little time. Maybe just invest a little time in reevaluating whether the case should go to trial. Attorney Brennan wrote in a statement, I have two core obligations. The first is to make certain that Karen Reed receives a fair trial. Ms. Reed will receive the dignity and fairness that every defendant deserves in our criminal justice system. The second is to ensure that the facts surrounding John O'Keefe's death are fully and fairly aired in a courtroom without outside influence. What if the outside influence is the cops, though? Like, what if that's the outside influence? That's a question. Brennan is most known for being one of the lawyers who represented Boston crime boss James Whitey Bulger at his 2013 trial. And then it goes on to talk about who Karen Reed is. We know. It'll be interesting to see a high-profile defense attorney face off against other high-profile defense attorneys, I guess. It's all going to cost quite a lot of money for both the state and for Karen Reed. I don't know if that's how the taxpayers of Massachusetts would like to see their funds being spent. I don't know. You let me know. How are the roads? How are the roads in Norfolk County? Is this where we want the money going? Is this what's needed? Those are the questions that the voters are going to have to decide on as they go forward with their elected officials. State government is where you can have a lot of impact by being like, excuse me, no, we don't want to do this. This is a great question from Disney Cosmo. Can Brennan decide not to prosecute? I would hope. Brennan said in the statement, my job is to do this ethically. I would hope that as Brennan reevaluates the case, they then decide if and how they want to go forward. But ultimately, Brennan might not have the autonomy to dismiss the case outright. If we see him walk off the case, then it might be a signal, just like we saw in the Baldwin case. We saw Erlinda Johnson say, I'm walking. Like, I can't do this. I'm out. So I will be interested to see what happens when we move forward. Because again, the federal investigators in this case are compelling. They were compelling. The accident reconstruction done by the investigators was compelling to me. And it was consistent with my own experiences, which makes it even more compelling to me. We also have multiple coroners who are like, this isn't what a vehicle collision typically looks like, right? All right. So it's interesting to me that the elected DA is saying this is a complex case. It shouldn't be. If somebody hits somebody with a car, it shouldn't be that complex. Maybe complex because the evidence and the prosecution's theory of the case don't quite fit together. So we will see what happens. We will see what happens. I'm not persuaded that the DA's office is going to drop anything. Here's what's going to be interesting is if the feds just drop an indictment in the middle of all. Where did my internet go? Apologies, that was my internet, not your internet. We know that the feds have been investigating with a grand jury for almost a year now. So if no, not almost a year now, 6-8 months now, because the grand jury testimony was May before the trial, March, April, May. So we know that there's a federal grand jury. So let's see. Swim Gal said, wouldn't Brennan have already agreed to try the case before he was hired? I think he would agree to look at the case and be brought in, but he would need to be brought in before all of that could be disclosed to him, because some of that is internal investigation. And so you can't disclose that to somebody that hasn't been brought in. So I don't think he can say, I'm for sure going to try it. I think any conscientious attorney would say, I need to know more before I tell you how I want to do it. So that will be interesting to see, but I'm looking forward to the next court date in state court where we see this prosecutor standing up, this special prosecutor. What could go wrong with a special prosecutor? Kari Morrissey, tell us what could go wrong. Tell us what could go wrong. So we will see what happens from here. I'm going to be keeping a close eye on it. I want to know all the things. How was this decision made? Why was this decision made? Why was this defense attorney picked to be the acting special prosecutor? Was this decision directed at Alan Jackson? Was this who do we want to see fight with AJ? Because it feels like that's kind of what's happening here, but that's just my feelings. That's not based on anything other than the way we watch this trial go down and the way we watch Alan Jackson have very strong words for Michael Morrissey. I wonder if this is Michael Morrissey's response to that. So, new special prosecutor. I wonder what, if anything, how the work will be divided up with Adam Lally, and if we'll see Lally doing opening and closing. I would imagine not. If you brought in a new special prosecutor, I think we'll see Lally kind of sitting to the side on this. So that will be very, very interesting. Peppermint, this is a great question in the chat. Peppermint said, Emily, would you explain the SJC panel and what they're reviewing in this case? Is it the jury debacle? Guess what is next on the docket, Peppermint? Karen Reed's appeal to the Supreme Judicial Court. That's literally next on the docket. So we're going there now. Karen Reed's defense attorneys appealed the denial of the motion to dismiss. So they went to court. They were like, Judge Cannone. Some jurors are saying they reached a verdict. Can we just honor that? Seems like bullshit if the jury reached a verdict and then they didn't write it down, but they actually had a final verdict, that we don't just honor that final verdict. I need you to go ahead and dismiss counts 1 and 3. The jury was only undecided as to count 2. Can we work that out? Judge Cannone's like, yeah, no, I'm not doing that. And yeah, no, I'm not going to let you question the jurors. And they're like, okay, we're going to appeal. So they asked the Supreme Judicial Court to take up the case. Can you all please review this and take a look if this should have been granted, if we should have been granted a hearing? This violates the defendant's Sixth Amendment rights. And they made all the same arguments, asking the Court of Appeals to take the case, asking the Supreme Judicial Court to take the case. So we're going to go through not only the Supreme Judicial Court taking the case, but also what they actually filed. They are doing a full panel. That's not always granted. Sometimes it's one judge. Sometimes it's a panel of 3. Sometimes it's a panel of 9. You don't always get a full panel on every case. But in this case, the High Court is granting a full panel review. Let me pause the embedded autoplay videos. Let's see if I go to reader view, if this will still, give me 30 seconds so I can get to reader view. I realize that the media, to remain accessible, it has to have every single ad in every single place on every single thing. It is just hard on the eyes. It is so many ads. Massachusetts High Court agrees to review Karen Reed case. This is coming from NBC Boston. The Mass Supreme Judicial Court, SJC, has agreed to review the case. According to a new court filing, we're going to read the filing. Quote, I hereby reserve and report this case without decision for determination by the Supreme Judicial Court for the Commonwealth. The parties shall prepare and file in the full court a comprehensive statement of agreed facts necessary to resolve the issue raised by the petition. That's due Wednesday, tomorrow. The court set a September 25th deadline for Reed's defense team to file its brief on the case. The prosecutors have until October 16th to file theirs. Defense lawyers will then have till October 25th to respond. So oral arguments, they say, are expected to take place sometime in November. If there are oral arguments that are audio streamed, I will listen to them and maybe review them, because often those can't be broadcast. If this is broadcast, we will cover it. Reed's lawyer, Martin Weinberg, this is the appellate counsel that they brought in, said in a statement to NBC 10 Boston Friday, quote, "I am looking forward to presenting arguments to the highest court in the Commonwealth on issues of great importance relating to how the double jeopardy clause should protect Karen Reed from being reprosecuted for offenses that 5 jurors reported were the subject of acquittals at the prior trial." And then they go through all of the background of the case. But what I would like to do is go to what the court actually said, because we love court documents here. So let's do that. Should we swoop again? Should we new swoop one more time? Yeah, I think so. Why not? Why not new swoop? Because I'm obsessed. What are cats? What are you doing? They know I'm streaming, and they're like, now is the time to take things that are on top of a thing and knock it over. And she can't do anything about it. Commonwealth of Massachusetts versus Karen Reed. Reservation and Report. This matter came before the court on a petition for extraordinary relief pursuant to GLC 211, Section 3. Upon consideration thereof, footnote extended, I hereby reserve and report this case without decision for determination by the Supreme Judicial Court for the Commonwealth. The parties shall prepare and file, which we already heard. The statement shall be prepared in time for inclusion in the parties' record appendix. The record before the full court shall consist of the following: all papers filed in the case, the docket sheet, the parties' statements of agreed facts, and this court's reservation and report. The matter shall proceed in all respects in conformance with the Massachusetts Rules of Appellate Procedure, which sometimes are very different than the rules in typical court. There are so many rules for the appellate courts. But what I love about the appellate courts is they're like, no, you did it wrong. Go back and do it again. Like, sometimes trial courts are like, my docket is full. I am way too fucking busy. Like, next time, can you just do it the right way? The appellate courts are like, fuck you. Yeet. They don't play at all. They're like, nope, it's not double spaced. Nope, it's not lined right. Nope, you didn't do your footnote citations right. Nope. They say this matter shall proceed in all respects in conformance with the rules of appellate procedure. The defendant petitioner shall be designated the appellant, the Commonwealth the appellee. The defendant's principal brief shall be due September 25th or no later than September 25th. I imagine we'll see that tomorrow. Am I going to cover it tomorrow? No. Will I cover it after that? Maybe. Can I tell you exactly what's going to happen? Yes. Hold on. Let me Nostradamus for you. They're going to say the exact same thing they have said over and over again, probably with more case law citations. Your Honors, these jurors have told us that all 12 decided a verdict. That's a violation of the Sixth Amendment. At a bare minimum, you have to let us ask all 12 jurors if they did in fact come to a verdict, because that is the only way we can protect Karen Reed's right to a fair trial and right against double jeopardy. Please, oh please. And that's going to take quite a lot of room, and we'll see what the appellate court decides to do. I'm not surprised that they sat a full panel. This is a very novel and unusual question. This is not a rote answer. This is not a, you're saying that you didn't get a fair trial, XYZ. This is a very like, ooh, that's a very unusual and unique circumstance. It interplays with the jury instructions and where those things went wrong or didn't. So I'm not surprised the whole panel's having a hearing on this. They need to. So the record shall have, as I said, all of the papers, the docket sheet, the court's reservation and report, and the statements of agreed facts. I am interested to see. Maybe I'll put up a quick bit on it. All right, here is the footnote, the more extended footnote. At a scheduling conference held on September 12th, 2024, following this court's review of the petition, as well as its record appendix, containing, among other things, the relevant papers filed by the Commonwealth before the Superior Court, the court expressed its intention to reserve and report this matter to the full court. That is the full court hearing. The court also requested that the parties confer regarding the briefing schedule before the full court, and B, gave the Commonwealth until September 18th to file a response to petition in the county court. If any, the parties jointly filed a proposed briefing schedule on September 17th. So they agreed, and they are going forward with that. Will in the chat said, if Karen Reed loses, could it go to SCOTUS? It's not generally the type of case and controversy that the Supreme Court would take up. There isn't a split of authority among jurisdictions on this. I mean, it would go really to the, it would go up to the Circuit Court of Appeal first. I don't know what circuit. Let me ask the most reliable research attorney in the world. Google, what circuit is Massachusetts in? It's got to be one of the, I just don't remember these things off the top of my head. Fifth Circuit. So it would go to the Fifth Circuit Court of Appeals first. So it wouldn't go directly to the Supreme Court. I don't think it would. This is not generally the type of case that would find its way. Could it go up to the Fifth Circuit? Yes. But I don't think there's a split among the jurisdictions enough about what constitutes a final verdict that it would end up all the way up, but maybe to the Fifth Circuit. Do I think they'll keep appealing? Yes, I do. I think they'll keep appealing 100%. So the defense brief is due tomorrow. So you'll see that around the, you'll see the, that wandering around the news cycle tomorrow. There's not going to be much new except agreed upon facts. That's going to be new. I will share that with you in the app when I have my hands on it. But there's not much new that's going to come up. The thing I'm looking for in this, as we get through the briefing, is will the oral argument be streamed? That's what I want to know. Everything else is going to be the same arguments we've already heard, formatted a little bit differently. So nothing new. Cornish Len asked, if Karen Reed is found not guilty, can she claim any legal fees? No. If there is substantial, no, generally not. There could be a reason that she decides to sue the county, which is very difficult to do. There's a lot of immunities at play there. She could decide to sue the police department, also difficult to do. There are a lot of rules and regulations there, but it is incredibly difficult to do and unlikely. But we could see her suing the police department down the road. I think that would be the more likely avenue first, especially given the text messages with Trooper Proctor saying in the first hours of the investigation, she did it. So that is something I think we could see down the road. Enchanted Wings, it will be delivered to your in-game mailbox within a few days. So that is what I said in the ad, and that is when they will be delivered because they need to figure out who the first 100 were. Lyndon, yes, actual qualified immunity, not TikTok privilege. Exactly. The real qualified immunity. So I think we could see that. I'd be really interested to see what comes up from Trooper Proctor's work phone and if that supports a lawsuit against the police department. Suing the county or the prosecutorial office is going to be much more difficult. The immunities there are going to basically knock that out, but not necessarily the same for law enforcement. So we will see. Let's see. When will we get a decision from the Supreme Judicial Court? Well, they're not going to hear oral arguments to November. Trials set for January. They will probably try to come down with a response within a month. So maybe late December, depending on when they take holiday, maybe before they take the winter holiday. So we'll see. But they're going to want to try to get that. I think they'll want to try to get that response in before the end of the year. But I also think the defense is going to go to the court and say, hey, we're waiting on a response. Can we push this out? Yes. Did I say Fifth Circuit? I 100% meant First Circuit. I clearly read the F and went Fifth. Yes, First Circuit, which is what I assumed and thought because of where Massachusetts is on the East Coast. And then I totally said the wrong circuit. So thank you. This is why I live stream, so I can be corrected in real time when my brain is tired. So thank you. Yes. So that is the appeal. We're going to go to officers disciplined and new officer discipline, including the order with regards to Sergeant Buchanan, Trooper B. We've got some Trooper B things. So that is what's going to happen. Let's see. I am, just so you guys know, the questions not related to the cases that we are talking about, I'm going to save to Q&A in case I get to them, but I'm trying to not interrupt the topic that we're on to answer questions on the topic that we're not on. So it's not that I don't see them, it's that they are getting saved if we have time to get to them because we have so much to crack through today. So let's talk about, hold on, let me pull up both documents. Let's see. Emily, why did that pull up weird? I don't know, but it did. Let me pull this up. Where did it go? Oh, gone. That's weird. Let me see. Nope. All right, well, we need to get this before the rest of it disappears. Hold on. Let's go full screen. And this has been removed. Hold on. Let me screenshot things so we can cover this. Even though this download that is embedded in the article has been removed off of where it was downloaded from. So give me a second to make sure I've preserved it, at least in screenshots, because it is, it's gone. I'm going to cover that first before this article gets updated. But here's the headline from, where are we coming in from? From Boston.com. State Police Sergeant disciplined over handling of Proctor's texts in Karen Reed case. I am surprised that stuff has been removed, but we're going to just go through what we have. And I'm going to zoom in so you guys can read it, screenshot it, whatever. I'll probably screenshot it again as we zoom in. So I'm going to take this off of reader mode because that's so strange that the download has been removed. Sergeant B, Trooper B, has forfeited 5 vacation days. Y'all let me know in the chat if that seems adequate. 5 vacation days following an internal affairs investigation linked to testimony from Reed's trial. Guess what it's linked to, y'all? That's my sound for text messaging. It's only my sound for text messaging when when my nails are too long. But losing 5 vacation. Chat, it seems like we're all in the same boat. I feel like we all feel the same way. 5 vacation days. Sir, you've lost 5 paid vacation days. Not suspended without pay. They have taken away 5 vacation days. This isn't even a slap on the wrist. I mean, it feels like it might just be a fist bump of yeah, we feel you. Personal opinion. A Massachusetts State Police investigator who supervised embattled Trooper Proctor has forfeited 5 vacation days after failing to reprimand Proctor for inappropriate text messages he sent during the Karen Reed case. Sergeant Yuri B. failed to properly supervise and or counsel a subordinate for sending inappropriate correspondence regarding an ongoing investigation, according to a copy of the personnel order shared with reporters Monday. I imagine they didn't want the personnel order out, but it's attached to this article. We're going to get to it before it's gone. So we're going to do that next. And then I'll go finish reading the rest of the order. This is attached to Scribed. This is gone off of Scribed. So I'm going to zoom while it's still embedded, because I don't know how long that will be until they update this case. And then we'll go look at the rest of the article. Department of State Police personnel order. Normally these things are sealed and are not released to the public. I was actually surprised that I was able to find it. I was looking for it. So I'm just bummed that I didn't think to download it earlier, because I was like, it'll be there. I need to start treating this like beauty YouTube drama where you got to screenshot everything the second you see it, because you never know if it's still going to be there. Sergeant Yuri Buchanan, ID number, Division of Investigative Services, SPDU, Norfolk, having waived his right to trial by trial board for violating Articles 3.7.6 and 5.8.2 of the rules and regulations governing the Department of the State Police, is hereby ordered to comply with the following disciplinary action. Sergeant Buchanan, on or about August 17th, did fail to conform to work standards established for his rank, title, or position. This occurred when Buchanan failed to properly supervise or counsel subordinate for sending inappropriate correspondence regarding an ongoing investigation. This action is in direct violation of Article 5.8.2. This is a Class B violation. Sergeant Buchanan, during the employee evaluation period between July 15th, 2022 and October 15th, 2022, failed to properly utilize the employee evaluation system. Really? This occurred when Buchanan failed to properly document the inefficiencies of a subordinate according to the department EES manual. This action is a direct violation of 3.7.6. This is a Class C violation. So he didn't report him at all. As a result, he shall forfeit 5 days of accrued leave. Things are not going to change if departments don't take stuff seriously. And look, I tried to put this on full screen and it just disappears. Tried to download it. This document has been removed. So that's interesting, isn't it? So hold on. If you, well, it's embedded in this video. It's here now. It lives on. So there's no downloading it. But Boston.com says it was released to reporters. It's odd to me that they're saying that it's not. Let's go back to the article. Oh no, I don't want to. Oh, now it's trying to, if I try to go to reader mode, it was trying to update it. That's why we covered that part first. Let's see. We're going to get back to where we were on the article. He failed to supervise. We know he failed to supervise. I wonder if we'll see other supervisors. There were other people on those text chains, but if you don't take disciplinary actions seriously, I don't know if this is what is standard, because also you generally have to treat the same type of disciplinary problems the same. So there is due process in all of this. The department can get sued by Buchanan if they take action that is exceeding what other officers would get in a similar situation. So let's see. We know about the Reed case. It says Proctor, the lead investigator on Reed's case, admitted to sending vulgar texts about Reed to family, friends, and coworkers throughout his investigation. Yeah, I learned things in those texts I had never heard before. And it takes a lot at this point, after being a DA for over 10 years and listening to some of the music that I listen to, and listening to the books that I listen to. We're not going to go into that. It takes a lot at this point for me to be like, that's new. But I will say, leaky balloon knot was new to me. I don't think that's how you should be talking about the subjects of your investigation, but the more you know. If we start, I tell you what, if we see that in any of the novels, if we start seeing balloon knot in any of the novels, I'm going to lose my mind. Cause trauma. Let's. Sorry, I got distracted by the chat real quick. Toya And this is not a bad thing. It's only bad when it's off topic. When it's off topic and I get distracted, then I chastise my own brain. I'm like, the ADHD. Toya said, stand in the corner and think about what you've done. Yep. It's like, no paid vacation for you. Go vacation without pay. Like most people in the United States. Go just take time off work and not get paid for it. Sir, don't do that again. Or maybe don't get caught for it. I don't know what they're really trying to show with the lose 5 days of banked time off situation. Are they also not going to allow him to take more overtime and not bank further days off? It still seems like it's a very low reaction to a supervisor that should have been like, no, what you're not doing. All right. Mia, actually, at the moment, I toned down the spice because I was going to be in public spaces a lot while I was traveling. So I toned down the spice while I was traveling because I tend to re-listen to things. ADHD is the gift that keeps on giving. Sometimes you forget plot lines of books and then you're re-listening and you're like, oh, I remember. It brings a lot of joy to re-listening to things over and over again because you've always forgotten something. So no, I toned down the spice and I realized that I had gotten distracted somewhere in the middle of the Throne of Glass series. So Throne of Glass is really more fantasy than spicy. So I am redoing Throne of Glass because I realized I can't remember at all what happened at the end. So we've been re-listening. But I try not to travel listening to like the spiciest of spice because occasionally I'm just like, oh, damn. All right, let's continue on. Proctor, the lead investigator in Reed's case, admitted sending vulgar texts about Reed to family, friends, and coworkers. Not the problem for me, not only were they vulgar, but they also showed how directed the investigation was. And you take those two things together and it is a huge problem. Even if there weren't vulgar texts, I still would have had a problem with she absolutely did it. She absolutely did it. 100%. Like those things I would still have a problem with, even if there wasn't all of the derogatory name calling, objectifying. Even without all of that, I still would have had a problem with it. That makes it worse. They say messages included calling Reed derogatory names, poking fun at Crohn's disease, appearance, and accent. In one text, Proctor said he hoped Reed would, what can I YouTube anymore? Hoped Reed would take herself out, which again, absolutely appalling. Buchanan's personnel order specifically cites messages sent August 17th. The same day, the trooper sent a picture of one of Reed's lawyers, David Yannetti, to the group chat with Proctor and other state colleagues. Funny, I'm going through his client's phone, derogatory word that starts with an R. No nudes so far, Proctor wrote in the chat per his testimony at Reed's trial. I hate that man. I truly hate him. So this is that day of text messages. Katrina said, note to self, don't tell Emily to read ACOTAR or Fourth Wing. I've read both. Like them. I would read ACOTAR on a plane. It definitely doesn't rate super high. Well, I guess at the end. Nesta rates higher on the spicy scale, but it doesn't rate all the way at the top of the spicy scale. Look, I have a high threshold. Let's see. But also I worked in a really strange job for a long time. So my threshold for all kinds of weird and awful is high. I love fantasy-based books though, which shouldn't surprise anyone. I'm a Star Wars nerd at all. So fantasy-based books. ACOTAR is so plain safe that they sell it in the airport. ACOTAR, like I see girls mostly at my son's school carrying the ACOTAR books with them, like uncovered. Like it's just like, I'm reading this now. So those are not on the, there are some things I wouldn't have the cover on. So we're going to derail into spicy books. These are conversations for members only. Don't worry. It goes on to say Proctor later clarified his hostility towards Yannetti came after the defense attorney stood up in open court and spouted lie after lie about me and dragged my name through the mud. Well, sir, I feel like Proctor has sufficiently now done that for himself, don't you? I feel like Proctor has, through his own words, dragged his name through the mud. Shannon asked about, yes, both series, both the main series and the spinoff series. Yes, both. We talked about that on Members Only Live. The Dark Angel, accurate. Proctor later clarified his hostility was because Yannetti said mean things about him in court. The job of the defense attorneys, often defense attorneys' first part of their case is law enforcement did a bad job and my client didn't do it. That's like the baseline of a defense. Law enforcement did a bad job. And when Yannetti's saying that Proctor had animus towards Karen Reed, did he lie though? On the stand, Proctor confirmed none of his supervisors reprimanded him for his messages about searching through Reed's phone, with Buchanan even liking the text. Right. Proctor was relieved of duty soon after Reed's case ended in a mistrial July 1st. He has since been suspended without pay while state police conduct an IA investigation. I wonder if this IA investigation is going to end before the new trial. State police previously said another trooper who testified in Reed's murder trial, Detective Lieutenant Brian Tully, is also facing an IA investigation and remains on full duty. The agency has not announced the results of that probe, but that's not the only one that we need to talk about because, let's see, there is some more articles, and this had happened, I think, a while back, talking about Kevin Albert, but this was connected in an article today talking about Buchanan because that news broke late yesterday. So let's go to the other article regarding Kevin Albert real quick, just to close the loop on everybody that has been and or is being disciplined because, well, it's hard to keep up at this point. Here's the thing. If all of the officers, many of the officers, let's not be hyperbolic, let's try to be like lawyerly and precise. If many of the officers in your trial have been disciplined for the way they behaved in your trial, retrial's gonna suck. I can't imagine any prosecutor going, yeah, this is gonna be great. Everyone's been disciplined. It's going to be so much worse when we get to the retrial. And the first trial was bad with regard to the officers. It's not getting better. It's just getting worse. 2 Massachusetts officers connected to Karen Reed investigation discipline. This is coming from WCVB 5. I feel like we're doing a Hogue style hangouts and headlines. Lots of headlines today. Don't worry, court documents are next because we got to talk about Baldwin. A Canton, Massachusetts police detective and a Mass State Police sergeant have been disciplined for violations of department policies. Investigations were launched into both individuals after revelations made during the Karen Reed murder trial. Detective Kevin Albert of Canton PD was disciplined for an incident in July 2022 during a cold case investigation in Sandwich. Not the food group, the location. I'm going to go down a whole ass Ladies of London rabbit hole with this if I don't rein the ADHD back in away from reality TV for a minute, because I recorded a podcast yesterday talking all about reality TV. We'll talk about that in a minute. According to a Canton Police Department investigation report, Albert and Mass State Police Trooper Michael Proctor traveled to Sandwich on July 19th, 2022 to conduct interviews related to a cold case. After the interview, they stopped at Treehouse Brewing Company. Look, if you stop at a brewing company and have a sandwich, burger, fries, food, it's fine. You can't drink and be on duty with your fucking gun. Like, what are you doing? Like, how is this? I'm so annoyed by this. I'm just so annoyed by this. You're working. You're driving. You're driving your police vehicle. You have your gun. Good God. The report said they had dinner at Flanders Field in Hanover, where Albert consumed 1 or 2 beers. The investigation examined potential violations of department rules regarding alcohol consumption on duty. I imagine the rules are don't. Runkle in the chat said he's just taking his duty pistol for a walk and a drink. Yeah, it's not your friend. You don't get to take it to the bar with you. Hannah Gutierrez is being prosecuted for such, you know? So, Albert consumed 1 or 2 beers. This is all what he testified. The investigation examined potential violations of department rules regarding alcohol consumption on duty, conduct on becoming an officer, and care of department issued items like your gun, your badge, your car. The report found Albert consumed alcohol while on duty without authorization. That's a very interesting and specific caveat, because I imagine that there are some departments that do have officers participate in some of the field sobriety or field sobriety tests, the FST trainings, where you actually bring people in. Members of the public sometimes do this too, where you bring people in and have them stage out certain amounts of alcohol, either hard liquor or beer, and they line out how much and they breathalyze them and they do all the FST tests. So when we're talking about without authorization, there are limited and narrow circumstances where authorization might be appropriate. Undercover might also get authorization. So I can see where there would be narrow and limited circumstances, but you can do FST training where they're like, okay, you're going to take a shot this hour, and then we're going to run you through these tests, and then we're going to take a breathalyzer, and then you're going to take another shot, and they like stage out your alcohol and have you run through all the tests and then give you a ride home. So yes, there are areas where you can get authorization to drink, but they are much more narrow and finite. And this is not that. I have the law nerds. One of the officers I really liked working with went undercover for a high school, and she looked incredibly young. Oh, so it's not surprising to me that she was undercover for a high school, but got like swooped up into high school girl drama and was like, it is so hard to not show my age by being like, oh, sweetie, these are all red flags for both friends and dudes. Like, this is not how we should be doing it. She's like, I'm trying not to be my age when trying to tell high school students that these are red flags because these are things you'll learn later in lunch. She goes, but one of the things that almost caught me out was bringing lunch. And I was like, I need you to tell me more. And she's like, so this high school, there was a very standard lunch with the kids she was hanging out with, and the kids she was hanging out with are the kids who were going to help her find the kids that were dealing at the high school. And so, and to hang out with those kids, you're starting to get into what their lives are like. And she's like, I just want to hug them all and be like, it's going to get better. And I'm sorry that your families suck. But she brought fruit to lunch, and everyone was like, the fuck is that? Because they were all eating hot Cheetos and Coke for lunch. She's like, the worst part of being undercover was trying to fit in by eating hot Cheetos and Coca-Cola for lunch, brought fruit, and everybody was like, the fuck? I'm sure they were like, no, the fuzz. I think I actually made that joke. But she was like, I didn't even think that bringing fruit was going to be a dead ass giveaway that I was not a teen. So she's like, and then I went right back to eating, hot Cheetos and Coke for lunch. I'm like, were you bringing Tums with you? Like, wasn't the Tums a dead giveaway? So undercover, don't eat fresh vegetables and fruit. Like, unless you're hanging out with a group of kids that is like eating fresh vegetables and fruit. If the standard lunch is hot Cheetos and soda, That's what you got to do. Here in Tennessee, I don't know if it's hot Cheetos. I mean, a lot of Takis. Takis are better. A lot of Dr. Pepper. A lot of Dr. Pepper. A lot of Dr. Pepper. How old was she? She was, if I am remembering correctly, almost 30. Right and almost 30. Looked like a teen. Like looked incredibly young, and also, you know, is easy to pass for high school, except for bringing lunch, bringing real lunch. So anyway, I enjoyed chatting with her when she was bringing cases about all of the time undercover, because I'm like, literally, I could never. But it was fascinating to me. I was like, this is such an interesting aspect of your job. But I also, after working in juvenile court, I can see where the emotional component comes in, because you can see as you get older, right? You're like, I wish I could just save you from this experience you're going through, and I cannot. That is not my job. So, all right, let us continue on. I love this. I saw that, let's see. Valkyrie Art said, I apparently look like I'm around 18-ish when I am almost 30. It happens. Goldie says, my daughter eats a lot of fruits with her lunch at school, but also takes Takis. Balance. I absolutely appreciate that kind of balance. Let's see. I saw another Emily said Dr. Pepper tastes like marzipan. I've never thought about it, but I also don't hate marzipan. So I never really thought about it. Let's finish talking about the tea on Brian Albert and then all of the Baldwin's spicy response. So all of it. Let's see. Don't drink alcohol on duty without prior authorization is the takeaway. Can prior authorization be granted in limited circumstances? His conduct reflected unfavorably, back to the Dr. Pepper, unfavorably on himself and the department. No shit. No shit. The report said the temporary misplacement of Albert's badge in Proctor's cruiser was not considered a violation, and that the storage of his firearm in a locked glove compartment was deemed adequate and not a violation of department rules. Well, at least he didn't bring it into the bar. He locked it in the glove compartment. But those glove compartments, depending on the type of vehicle it is, might be adequate to lock a weapon in. Albert was ordered to work 3 8-hour unpaid shifts as a result of his violation. He didn't get vacation days taken away, but he had to work without pay. So, I mean, okay. Work 3 8-hour unpaid shifts as a result of the violation. He was placed on administrative leave back in July. Mass State Police Sergeant Buchnick, who testified in Reed's murder trial, was ordered to forfeit 5 days of leave. That's the part of the article I wanted to get to, was what was Brian Albert's, what was the result? Brian Albert was disciplined by working 3 8-hour unpaid shifts. Sergeant Buchnick was disciplined by losing 5 days of banked vacation time or leave time. Proctor has his work phone now being gone through, is still suspended without pay, and there is ongoing IA investigations. I hope that, did I say Brian Albert? I meant Kevin Albert. You're right. Chat, you're absolutely right. Wrong Albert. My bad. So with all of it, Trooper Proctor is still on leave. I hope that gets resolved before the next trial. It will be interesting if, I don't know, I will be suspicious if the IA investigation gets delayed through the next trial, because then it's like, well, you're suspended without pay, but you're not terminated. I hope that they don't leave him in some kind of administrative gray zone through the next trial. I think that would be it would not be a good look. I'm going to leave it there. We'll see what happens. So apologies for saying Brian Albert's name. There's so many Alberts in this case. My brain just absolutely stopped. But yes, Kevin Albert of Canton PD worked 3 8-hour shifts without pay For those of you asking, how can you work 8-hour shifts without pay? It's going to be part of the disciplinary action. How can they take away your paid leave days? Generally, they can't, but it's all going to be written into what they're allowed to do as part of their work. For all of you in the chat saying, don't be suspicious. Exactly. It will be suspicious to me if it just kind of lingers. I'm waiting to see what the feds do. So I'm waiting. I'm waiting to see what the feds do. How long will I be waiting? I don't know. But it seems like it's going to be a while. All right. You know what I'm not waiting for? My next Dave Matthews concert, because it's this weekend. I'm very excited. I'm very excited for a Dave weekend, you guys. I can't even tell you. It's going to be good. Hosier's playing before Dave. I can't wait. I can't wait. I'm ready for concerting. Emily, is your brain tired? Yes. Do you need a break? Yes. And it's hard because I was traveling last week. And so I was on a break from streaming, but it wasn't like a break. Like it was work. It was work. It was great work. It was fun work, but I was busy. So it wasn't like a break. Dave feels like a little bit of a break. So I'm excited. Are you guys ready to talk Baldwin? Miguelina, I think I'm going to try to do a full summary of all things Karen Reed. Let's try to do that. Guys, let me see if I can swoop and summarize everything we just did for Karen Reed. For all of you that are going to pilgrimage this weekend, say hi. I'll see you. It's going to be great. So, all right. Let's see if I can summarize that. My brain's clearly very jumpy today. All things going on in the Karen Reed case real quickly. First, the Supreme Judicial Court of Massachusetts is taking the appeal that the defense attorneys brought over Judge Cannoni's denial of Karen Reed's motion to dismiss based on violation of her Sixth Amendment rights, saying that the jury did come to verdicts on 2 of the counts and therefore she cannot be retried because it is a violation of double jeopardy. And that is, and they are saying that that is the reason the case cannot go forward to retrial on those 2 counts. They also are appealing Judge Cannoni's decision to not allow them to ask the full panel of 12 jurors if they did in fact reach that decision. A full panel from the SJC is going to hear this case. The briefing schedule is going through the end of October. Oral arguments are set for November 2024. At present, the current retrial date for Karen Reed is set for January 27th, 2025. So we're going to be cutting it close between the ruling from the SJC after oral arguments. It often will take them a month or more to rule on cases. So we will see when that ruling comes down and whether or not the defense will start asking Judge Cannoni to bump out the trial a little further. But we also know now that there is a new special prosecutor brought into the Karen Reed case who had represented Whitey Bulger as a defense attorney. He has worked apparently as both a prosecutor and defense attorney and was brought in by elected DA Michael Morrissey to head up the retrial of Karen Reed. Is what we need another prosecutor? I don't know if what we need is another prosecutor. Will fresh eyes on the case be helpful? Maybe. But you know what's not going to be helpful is the continued disciplinary action against officers investigating this case. Should there be disciplinary action? Yes, I'm not saying there shouldn't. I'm saying, excuse me, not well apparently. I'm saying that going forward at a retrial with a substantial amount of investigators that have been disciplined because of their action in this investigation is going to make it more difficult. You have Trooper Proctor, who's been relieved without pay with ongoing investigations. Sergeant Buchnick was just disciplined for not disciplining Trooper Proctor, who was sending inappropriate text messages in the group text to his supervisors. And instead of saying, wow, you can't do that, they were like heart to the message. We have seen Kevin Albert disciplined for going to the bar with Trooper Proctor after they were out investigating a case and having drinks while on duty. We have seen investigations and mild discipline of other officers. The discipline for Buchnick for not supervising Trooper Proctor appropriately, he had to give up 5 banked leave days. And the discipline for Kevin Albert is that he had to work 3 8-hour shifts without pay. I wonder if he didn't have any banked vacation days, and that's why they had him work shifts without pay. Those were the disciplinary actions there. So appeal is ongoing, new lead prosecutor, and continued fallout from the appalling investigation in this case. Are we done? Not even close. Not even close to done. But if the SJC allows oral arguments in this case to be streamed, I'm going to be covering it. It's going to sound very much like what we heard in front of Judge Cannoni. It's the same arguments. It's just them taking it up to an appellate court saying, hey, your honors, instead of just the one, your honors. The lower court judge doesn't get it. So we need you to understand that this is the problem. I imagine that their ultimate goal is to get counts 1 and 3 dismissed, but they are hoping that at a minimum, they get to interview the jurors to see if there is in fact a consensus, because we don't know yet. All right, let's talk Baldwin. Are you ready? Let's go. Baldwin. Y'all, Karen Reed's case is wild. But so far, their special prosecutor hasn't gone as wild as Kari Morrissey. I covered the Kari Morrissey motion / meltdown ? I love everyone in the chat that was like, is it a motion or is it a meltdown? I was like, accurate. Morrissey spent so many pages, more than she had leave to file, trying to relitigate the facts of this case. It was giving TikTok psychic. But Your Honor, no, this is what happened. This is why you don't understand. This is why you should be on my side. On and on and on. And then the court was like, girl, I did not give you leave to file that many pages. And in the court's ruling, the warning was oftentimes more pages are not helpful. So the court asked Kari Morrissey to narrow down the argument to fit in the allotted pages. And Kari Morrissey tried to do that, but still filed a motion to reconsider the denial of the extended page limits. And all of this is coming after the case was dismissed with prejudice. I don't even think there's a controversy here. The court hasn't said it yet, but I don't think there is any judicial remedy at all. And Kari Morrissey cited zero law, zero, saying that there was a case in controversy. How does the judge remedy this situation when the case has been dismissed with prejudice? Jeopardy attached. You were in trial. This dismissal, the dismissal with prejudice was a sanction for Brady violations. It was dismissed with prejudice to sanction the prosecution. Where is the remedy? What can the judge do? The judge can't undismiss it. There's no remedy here. So I didn't review this filing by Spyro at all. Not at all. I am waiting for someone to spit fire through this entire response. I did not watch anyone cover it. I did not read it. I put it on pause like a housewife for 4 days. It was filed on the 20th. So I have been waiting to read through what the attorneys have to say in their brief 16-page motion and then exhibitees, because I am dying of curiosity. I have been waiting for this. I am so invested against my will. I feel like Kari Morrissey is dragging me behind like a wagon at this point. I'm like, no, I don't want to follow this anymore. We played the case closed bumper. We were done. We had the most shocking day of court I think I've ever seen. I sat on the internet just going, oh my God, this is happening. Oh my God, why is Alec Baldwin's wife just like petting his face? What is even happening today? And then we were done. Dismissed with prejudice. Nothing more to see here, folks. Kari Morrissey's like, nah. I mean, you say we're done, but we're not like done. Yeah, you are. So let's see what the defense has to say, shall we? We shall. This is a first look for me. If it's not a first look for you and there are any spoilers in the chat, I may liberally yeet because it will absolutely distract me. And I am struggling anyway because I am tired. I am struggling with distraction. So, thank you for working with me in not galloping the wrong direction into more distraction. I appreciate you. But that is why I say we need to stay on topic, because I have a hard time staying on topic on a good day. All right. All of the lawyers. Baldwin's response to the state's amended motion for reconsideration. This is a very brief table of contents argument. The court should strike the state's defective motion. I don't disagree. The state's motion for reconsideration should be denied. Are they asking for sanctions? I want to know if they're asking for sanctions. They say the state's misconduct was egregious. The case law supports dismissal. There's not a remedy here. Table of authorities. Look, there's case law and statutes. Great. Introduction. The state waited until hours before the deadline to file a motion for reconsideration that exceeded the court's page limits by 42 pages. Well, I mean, those are just facts. When the state's defective motion was rejected, it waited a week to file an amended motion, while at the same time requesting leave to file a third version of the motion. To this day, the state still hasn't filed a compliant motion. The state's motion should therefore be stricken as non-compliant and untimely. Untimely. Also, there's no remedy. Alternatively, the motion should be denied on its merits. The court provided a detailed summary of the state's egregious misconduct and a thorough analysis of the relevant factors under the case law. Based on its comprehensive analysis, the court properly exercised its inherent power and, quote, broad discretionary authority by dismissing the case with prejudice. No basis exists to reconsider the court's decision. That's what I said. That's exactly what I said. There is no basis to reconsider. None. But here comes Kari Morrissey. Yeah, she did. No basis exists to reconsider the court's decision, but here comes Kari Morrissey. After she repeatedly violated the state's disclosure obligations, buried evidence, lied about it at trial, and then lied about her reasons for lying about it, Morrissey has the audacity to ask the court to order Baldwin to, quote, provide a description and all documents related to when and how they learned of evidence that the state suppressed. I mean, they just kind of put a really fine point on it. They really did try to get to all of the like attorney-client privilege protected information. The defense doesn't have to prove shit to you. Here she comes, all audacious. Oftentimes I will celebrate people's audacity. This is not audacity to be celebrated. This is audacity that at some point will probably and should probably be sanctioned. Also, how are you even asking with a straight face for attorney-client privilege information from the defense? She's asking the defense to provide the information of how they found, this is giving the YSL trial. How did you know that we hid evidence from you? Like it was hidden. How did you find it? Lord. It's difficult to imagine a more backwards or conceited. Oh, shit. I knew it was going to be spitting fire. I'm here for the conceited. I'm not mad about it. It's difficult to imagine a more backwards or conceited attempt to blame the victim of the state's own willful and deliberate misconduct. Not only has the state failed to present any new information to warrant reconsideration, but the new information that has emerged since trial only underscores the strength and necessity of the court's judgment, specifically an affidavit by Special Prosecutor Erlinda Johnson. What now? Is it attached? Is it attached? Oh, it is attached. Oh, it is attached. Damn. We've been wanting to hear more from Erlinda. And Erlinda's like, I got you. Look, when you're doing what's right, it doesn't matter who you're talking to. Oh, Erlinda. Chat, I'm putting a poll in the chat. Hold on. I need a consensus. The Erlinda affidavit. Here's the question that's going in the chat. Read it now. End of the motion. Do we just skip ahead? Do we just skip? I'm putting up a poll. Vote in the poll because I can't even. The chat is jumping. How many? Oh, because there's 12,000 of you here. Oh, now's a good time to say do the YouTube things like subscribe. I'm going to let the poll roll for a second. I'm going to make sure I have the exhibitties pulled up in case the poll goes to read it immediately, which is, I can imagine that you guys are like, no, we're skipping to the end. We're skipping to that chapter first because dying of curiosity. So let's see. I've got that pulled up. So we have it. I'm going to give a few more paragraphs in, and then we will decide together if we are skipping to the Erlinda Johnson. I'm going to let the poll roll because there's under 2,000 of you that have voted. So I'm going to let that poll roll for a minute. And here we go. All right. Let's see. There we go. Let's see. Not only has the state failed to present any new information to warrant reconsideration, but the new information that has emerged since trial only underscores the strength and necessity of the court's judgment, specifically an affidavit by Special Prosecutor Erlinda Johnson, who, contrary to Morrissey's lies, resigned because of the state's misconduct, demonstrates that Morrissey continues to distort the truth. Exhibit A. The court should ensure the integrity of the judicial system and the efficient administration of justice by striking and denying the state's motion. I think there's a lot of grounds to strike it on. Argument. The court should strike the state's defective motion. The state's motion cannot exceed 10 pages without leave of court, and the motion was required to be filed within 30 days of the entry of judgment. Here, the state waited until hours before the deadline of August 30th to file a motion to reconsider dismissal with prejudice. At 52 pages, however, the motion exceeded the court's page limit by 42 pages. The state knew well in advance of August 30th that it planned to file a massively overlength motion, yet it inexplicably waited until the day of the filing to request an extension. On September 3rd, the court denied the motion for leave, and that was leave to file more pages. On September 5th, the state filed a motion to reconsider denial of the motion to exceed page limits that seeks leave to file a 22-page motion. At the same time, nearly a week after the deadline to seek reconsideration, the state filed an amended motion to reconsider dismissal with prejudice. The amended motion is 11 pages long, also beyond the page limit. The court has not ruled on these motions because I think the court's going to yeet. After the court denied leave to file the state's non-compliant motion, the state waited an entire week to file its amended motion. The court should strike the motions as non-compliant and untimely. Untimely! The state cannot circumvent the deadline by filing a grossly non-compliant motion on the due date, then filing a second, still non-compliant motion nearly a week later. Finally, the court should award attorney's fees for having to respond to the state's defective motion as a sanction against Morrissey. There's the ask for sanctions. It's a very restrained ask for sanctions to say we should get attorney's fees for, Your Honor, we have to respond to this bullshit, so we should at least have the state pay for our time to do so. Finally, the court should award Baldwin's attorney's fees for having to respond to the state's defective motion as a sanction against Morrissey for her continued abuse of the judicial process. All right, 82% of you want to read the Erlinda affidavit now, right now. So we're going to do that. I'm going to end the poll and we're going to skip to one of the exhibits as it was cited. Remember, Kari Morrissey said that Erlinda left because she disagreed with the hearing being public. Erlinda went on to the news, and we watched some of that interview in a Members Only Live. Erlinda went on to the news and was like, that's not what happened. That's not what happened at all. I left because it was obvious that there was a Brady violation, and I said our obligation as prosecutors is to dismiss the case. And when Kari didn't want to do that, Erlinda said, I'm out. I can't stand by what you want to do. Because what you want to do is improper, and we're not doing that. So let's see what Erlinda has to say. Because Kari Morrissey continues to say that Erlinda left for this reason and that reason and represent why Erlinda left. But Erlinda, in her own words, says that's not accurate at all. All right, this is the worst facts I've ever seen. But okay. Affidavit of Erlinda Johnson. I, Erlinda Johnson, being of the age of majority, duly licensed in the state of New Mexico, in good standing and authorized to practice, have been practicing law for over 28 years, office located in Albuquerque. On April 16th, I was appointed to work as special prosecutor on State v. Baldwin as co-counsel for lead special prosecutor Kari Morrissey. Kari Morrissey did not give me an expert report referenced as the third Hague report prior to the defense pretrial motions of the experts, Michael and Luke, or prior to the defense's pretrial interviews of the experts, Mike and Luke Hague. Kari Morrissey did not tell me the third Hague report existed prior to the first Hague pretrial interviews. Kari did not tell me about the third Hague report until May 21st, 2021. Had I known of the third report, I would have disclosed it to the defense. Approximately 2 or less weeks prior to trial, defense counsel emailed me only asking me to review a production provided to the defense attorney's office by the... I read that terribly. I'm going to start over. Approximately 2 or less weeks prior to trial, defense counsel emailed me only asking me to review a production provided by the DA's office to the defense pursuant to the IPRA. And we heard about this in pretrial motions. For discoverable material to disclose to the defense as the IPRA production had been heavily redacted by the issuing agency. Morrissey suggested to me that I ignore the discovery request from defense counsel. Ooh, that is all the red flags. Just grab a red flag, run through a field. I told Morrissey I would not ignore defense counsel's email as I had my own ethical obligations to ensure the proper discovery was disclosed. Yup. I then asked 2 private investigators to assist me in reviewing the nearly 5,000 pages of the IPRA production for the purpose of unredacting everything to which the defense was entitled. I conducted a review of the redacted IPRA material and compared it to the unredacted version. I I also reviewed the materials the investigators unredacted. After conducting the review of the APRA production, I uncovered additional items to disclose to defense, which amounted to thousands of pages of documents. Yikes. Yikes. That is a tremendous amount of work for her to do quickly before trial. This is a tremendous amount of work that should have been done before trial. And redacting things out of the report that links to other reports is wild to me. You hope all prosecutors are an Erlinda going, no, they're entitled to this stuff. Giving the defense discovery doesn't undo what a defendant did or did not do. It just ensures that your trial is fair and ethical. If you can't convict someone in a fair and ethical trial, you shouldn't be trying it. You don't need to just redact everything to hide that there's additional documents. So once they unredacted it, it sounds like that then illuminated other reports that still had not been turned over. So you're now getting 5,000 pages turned over that now needed to be substantially unredacted, plus additional thousands of pages to drop on the defense weeks before trial. That's not how that's supposed to go. No wonder the judge was already pissed by the time they got to the, what do you mean you never disclosed this report about rounds that were turned over? Kari Morrissey instructed me not to talk to defense counsel over the phone. Okay, red flag guy running in the field the other direction. Trial began on July 9th. I resigned from prosecution on July 12th, 2024 during trial because I learned of undisclosed evidence during trial and felt that my ethical obligations called for me to withdraw. I did not resign from the case because I did not want a public hearing on the discovery issues. During the lunch hour on July 12th, I advocated to Kari to dismiss the case against Baldwin. During the lunch break in the morning and lunch hour on July 12th, after conducting legal research and evaluating what I learned that day about what transpired with the Teskey ammunition evidence that had not been disclosed to defense, I believed the right thing for the state to do was to dismiss the case on its own motion, but Kari Morrissey disagreed. This is what we knew, but what we also learned in Morrissey's motion is that the court told the attorneys at lunch that she was already inclined to dismiss the case, making it wilder that Kari Morrissey took the stand. The court said she was inclined to dismiss. If the court comes to you and says, I'm inclined to dismiss, and then you have Erlinda Johnson saying, I've been doing this shit almost 30 years, we need to dismiss the case. And Kari's like, the judge is going to do it. Erlinda is doing this the way that it is supposed to be done. Ethics come first. Also, I appreciate the further affiant saith not. I'm here for it. I think all affidavits should be signed further affiant saith not. Everywhere. I love it the most. Sworn affidavit from August 23rd as they were working on these motions. Go Erlinda. Well done. She's still going to have to suffer the consequences of being connected to Kari Morrissey, but she did the right thing. And I think when anyone evaluates this here, we need to give Erlinda some applause. But when anybody evaluates this going forward, it's going to be clear that Erlinda was doing her best to do the right thing. So let's get back to the meat of the motion with the defense snark coming in hot. But I wonder how mad Kari is. Tell me, chat, how mad is Kari that Erlinda has an affidavit with the defense? It's the right thing, but how mad? Big mad. Big mad. Big mad. All right. State's motion for reconsideration should be denied. While a motion for reconsideration is appropriate where the court has misapprehended the facts, a party's position, or controlling law, it is not an appropriate vehicle to revisit issues already addressed or advanced arguments that could have been raised in prior briefing. Kari could have raised this in prior briefing. She didn't think she needed to. Kari was like, what do you mean you want the state to respond in writing, Your Honor? Kari did not appreciate what a big deal this was for the court, which is a huge part of the fucking problem. She never appreciated how serious this was. And isn't that crazy? That when there were these massive red flag, run the other way, issues, that Kari was like, I don't understand what the big deal is. Ma'am. Kari's like, it's not relevant to Baldwin's case. Ma'am. She still doesn't appreciate how serious this is. And that is a huge problem. And that's why we're here. That's why she didn't write a reply, because she was just like, the court's going to rule in our favor. This isn't a problem. It is a problem. Insert the narrator. It was, in fact, a very big fucking problem. All right. The court goes on to say the state does not even attempt to present new evidence or information in support of its motion. That's true. And even if it did, the court may properly refuse to consider it. Nor does the state cite any new or controlling authority to support its attacks on the court's ruling. Also true. Instead, new information to emerge since trial underscores the strength and necessity of the court's decision. See Exhibit A, that's Erlinda's exhibit. The state's motion for reconsideration should be denied. Well, the state's misconduct was egregious. The state withheld information virtually from the beginning of this case all the way through trial. It, quote, culpably made late disclosures of multiple expert reports related to firearm and thousands of files, including over 150,000 pages of documents and dozens of gigabytes worth of data, such as lapel videos, audio recordings, and interviews with key witnesses. And that is the multiple expedited motions for relief and Brady disclosure requirements. They go on to say it waited until the eve of trial to disclose over 1,100 pages of discoverable documents that Kari Morrissey had previously refused to provide. Those must be the Erlinda documents. The list goes on and on. In short, quote, the state continually made late disclosures to defendant throughout pretrial litigation and even in the days immediately preceding the jury trial on July 9th, 2024. Yet, the state repeatedly certified that it had met its disclosure obligations. It's worse when you've got Erlinda saying, oh, by the way, she told me not to talk to you and she told me not to respond to discovery requests. And then they cite all the motions where they brought this up, and they cite the state's responses. State's response to Baldwin's expedited motion for relief for state's Brady and state law disclosure violations related to non-firearm discovery. The state conducted a complete audit of its discovery disclosure file as soon as it was aware that potential problems existed and has cured any discovery disclosure issues. The representations and certifications were false. They kept saying, oh, we found it all now. Oh, we found it all now. Oh, no, this time we found it all. It's just so bad. The state's pattern of misconduct and misrepresentations continue at trial. On July 11th, 2024, CST Popple falsely testified that she had, quote, logged all the evidence she collected in this case, and that by logging it, she had also made it available for the defense so that the defense would have visibility into what, in fact, she collected. In fact, despite Baldwin's specific request to see, quote, the ballistics evidence, rounds, casing, deconstructed rounds, etc., CST Popple, along with other SFSO agents and Special Prosecutor Morrissey, intentionally and deliberately withheld this evidence by placing it and other related evidence under a non-Rust investigation case number. In an attempt to explain why the Teskey supplied ammunition was buried under a different case number, CST Popple testified that the ammunition did not match live ammunition found on the set of Rust. And then the judge looked at it and was like, That's not accurate. The judge put on gloves and was handling the evidence and went, that's not right. When the judge is the one that's like, no, bring the envelope, we're tearing it open, we're figuring it out, you know the judge is pissed. The defense goes on to say, but this too was false. By the time Special Prosecutor Morrissey took the stand as a witness in her own prosecution, fucking wild, the state had already admitted burying the Tuskegee-supplied ammunition and lying about it in front of the jury. I mean, they didn't say it exactly in those words. They said that they didn't mean to lie. It just wasn't accurate. Your Honor, we didn't lie. It just wasn't accurate. Just, we misstated some things, Your Honor. It wasn't a lie in front of the jury. It was just not true. Synonymous. We use them synonymously. We use lie and inaccurate, pledge, donate, same. It goes on to say that throughout Morrissey's testimony, the lies continued. For example, they're just going to call her like liar, liar, pants on fire the entire time. For example, Morrissey's statement that she had, quote, never seen the Tuskegee supplied ammunition and didn't realize that it wasn't under the same case number was contradicted by Corporal Hancock, who testified that the Sheriff's Department agents and Special Prosecutor Morrissey decided to separately file this evidence apart from the evidence of the arrest investigation. Yeah, at one point, Hancock's like, I'm not going down with this fucking ship. I'm not going down with this. It also defies belief that Morrissey wouldn't have asked what type of ammunition Tuskegee delivered. The intentional misconduct and fabrications that emerged at trial are consistent with Morrissey's pattern of withholding evidence and lying about it from virtually the moment she took over the case. Morrissey's misconduct has continued even after dismissal. Really? For example, contrary to Morrissey's latest claim that she never, quote, refused to provide unredacted copies of documents that Baldwin had obtained through the IPRA request, Baldwin has learned that Morrissey told Special Prosecutor Johnson to ignore Baldwin's request to review the documents for discoverable material. Oop. Johnson refused to ignore Baldwin's request, citing her ethical obligations to ensure proper discovery was disclosed, which ultimately led to the production of additional 1,100 pages on the eve of trial. Johnson also states that Morrissey's testimony about why Johnson resigned, i.e. Johnson, quote, didn't agree with the decision to have a public hearing about the state's suppression of evidence, was another lie. Johnson withdrew because she learned of undisclosed evidence during trial and felt that her ethical obligation called for her to withdraw. Well, it called for her to dismiss the case, and when Morrissey wouldn't do it, then the withdrawal. Given the government's misconduct, the court concluded that, quote, dismissal with prejudice is appropriate for several reasons. The court reached the conclusion by properly exercising its broad discretionary authority and conducting a thorough analysis of the relevant factors under case law. There is no basis to reconsider the court's analysis. First, as the court recognized, the state violated Baldwin's rights under numerous rules, state and federal case law, and the court's February 26, 2024 scheduling order. Despite admitting that it, quote, may have suppressed the ammunition from defendant, isn't it wild that the state is like, it's just a little suppression. No! Despite admitting that it may have suppressed the ammunition from defendant, the state argues that no Brady violation occurred because the evidence, quote, is not favorable to the defendant and is not material to his defense. This is wrong. That is wrong. As explained in Baldwin's motion to dismiss, the shade, to which the state declined to make a written response. Yeah, because the state was like, NBD. Proving the state's theory that Baldwin should have known of the risk of live ammunition being brought onto set would require the state to establish a link between Baldwin and the source of the ammunition. The state aimed to prove this theory by pointing to evidence that the fatal round was brought to set by Gutierrez-Reed and arguing Baldwin should have seen her relative youth, inexperience, and incompetence as a red flag. Notwithstanding the state's clear strategy, the state now falsely claims that it never intended to establish a link between Baldwin and the source of the live ammunition. And that, quote, Baldwin didn't need to know that there were live rounds on set for the state to prove its case against him. That's true, but Emily, keep reading. That's true, but that's not the point. Also, they threw everything in there because they wanted to get him as a producer and as Baldwin. They wanted to go over everything. The state at the beginning should have narrowly tailored this to the laws in New Mexico regarding gun safety are this. He violated that law. Someone died. Therefore, it's this. That's it. The defense goes on to say that's not the legal standard for disclosing exculpatory evidence. The fact that the government may also have advanced other theories of guilt does not absolve it of the obligation to turn over evidence that exculpated Baldwin on one of its theories, which involved tying the source of the live ammunition to Gutierrez-Reed and accusing Baldwin of recklessly relying on her as the armorer. Ned said special prosecutor was paid $6 million. True or false? False. It was in the hundreds of thousands that was approved for the prosecution, but that wasn't all going to Kari. Some of that was going to additional investigation, et cetera, et cetera. So, no. False, false. Moreover, by acknowledging that there is evidence that Baldwin's actions may not have been the only significant cause of Hutchins' death, the state effectively concedes that any evidence that attenuates Baldwin from the source of the live ammunition is both material and favorable. Here's why. There's those jury instructions we talked about a lot about the intervening cause. And the defense has the opportunity to say, okay, Baldwin didn't check the live ammo. Baldwin didn't think he was required to. The industry standards on this say even if he did, then the armorer has to recheck it, and that's all on Dave Halls. So if the intervening cause is Hannah not doing her job, then the jury can find him not guilty because that kind of cuts off his liability. So they had an argument there that they wanted to explore. They have the right to explore it. In addition, they say, as the court observed, Baldwin could have used the suppressed ammunition as impeachment material against multiple witnesses and against SFSO's investigation generally. Right. Hey, y'all. Why didn't you look into Seth Kinney more? Why didn't you do this? Why didn't you do that? The argument that the rounds do not serve to impeach anyone other than CST Popple is both false. The evidence also impeaches Hancock, the lead detective, among others, and is also incredible coming from a prosecutor whose own statements are impeached by that evidence. Boom, roasted. Damn. Also accurate. I mean, no lies, but damn. It's incredible coming from a prosecutor whose own statements are impeached by that evidence. Damn. Oh my God. Oh my God. Oh my God. I mean, that's the fire. They're actually, I feel that Kari Morrissey's motion is so bad that the fire is actually toned down a bit. It's like they've decided to stop kicking someone when they're down. They're like, this is already so bad. We're going to keep it minimal because everyone knows what's happening here. So I feel like it's an elevated level of lawyer shade. It's a restrained level of lawyer shade. It's not just like, fight. It's, but Your Honor, this is clearly ridiculous. How dare she? The audacity. I appreciate the variation in the spice from Spyro. I mean, they've definitely come at Morrissey harder in other motions, and now they're just like, bless her heart. But no, I'm not mad at it. Like, I'm not mad at it at all. I think it is a calculated strategy. What Francie made in the chat said very demure. Yes, it's a demure level of shade. Oh boy. They go on to say it is also irrelevant. I mean, facts. Since the ammunition itself is not the only evidence that was suppressed, nor do any of the state's argument absolve Morrissey of her admitted failure to comply with Rule 5-501, the repeated violation of which is sufficient to warrant dismissal even without a Brady violation. That's interesting. So even under statutory law, they still could have done this. Second, although Brady does not require a showing of culpability, the court properly found that the state was highly culpable for, quote, repeatedly failing to fulfill its discovery obligations during pretrial litigation of the case. Because they did. I don't think I've ever seen so many discovery violations in one case. Ever. The court further found that the suppression of the Teskey supplied ammunition and related evidence constitutes willful and deliberate misconduct, and that Morrissey elicited false testimony from CST Popple in the presence of the jury. That is going to be what is considered by the state bar. That is what they are going to look at. That statement right there. As the court correctly noted, refusal to comply with discovery orders may rise to the level of dismissal where the state's conduct is especially culpable, such as where, as here, evidence is unilaterally withheld by the state in bad faith or all access to evidence is precluded by the state's intransigence. You cannot have the over and outsized weight of the government, and the government has the resources, the power, they can get into your phone, like the outsized weight of the government. They cannot also hide the ball. It is part of the balances that the system is made on. And when you cheat those balances, you are putting your hand on the scale of justice, and that is not allowed. So I am not upset when the repercussions for that, when the sanctions for that are strong, because the violation is egregious. The sanctions should be strong. Just like I think the sanctions when investigators get up to fuckery should be strong. It is supposed to not only be a sanction against your behavior, but also a deterrent to others for doing it. It's kind of what the system is based on. It's like, hey, not only are you being punished for whatever crime you committed, but also it is a reminder to others that don't do that. There will be consequences. This is the reminder to the prosecution. Don't do that. There will be consequences. Also, it's not hard to do it right. And if it is hard to do it right because your law enforcement officers didn't tell you something existed, which is not the case here, even if it were the case here, you can still get your case dismissed even if you did not do anything knowingly. If a prosecutor does not turn over discovery because they don't know it exists, their obligation is still to dismiss the case, which is what we saw from Erlinda Johnson. Erlinda's like, I didn't even know this shit existed. But now that I know this shit exists, you had to turn it over. You didn't, the case gets dismissed. That's not on Erlinda, but Erlinda understands the assignment. That's what you do. And it sucks. And then you turn around and yell at law enforcement and say, this can never happen again. See how the case got dismissed? See how the person you wanted to prosecute isn't going to get prosecuted? See how upset the victim's family is by that? See how much money we spent in this prosecution to have it dismissed because of our error as a team? Don't do that ever again. But again, it's easier for me to yell about prosecutors because that is the job I did. You know, it's easier to be critically minded when it was your job, right? It's not hard to do the right thing. Again, Erlinda, big fan of justice. Do it right. The government still wins most of its cases. It's not like these obligations stopped prosecutions from happening. We just want to make sure that people are being prosecuted on sufficient evidence that was lawfully obtained. Not wild. Third, the prejudice to Baldwin is clear. As the court correctly notes, if Baldwin, quote, had access to the Teskey supplied ammunition before the third day of the jury trial, he would have had altered his approach to his preparation of trial and the trial itself. The state argues that Baldwin could not have been prejudiced if he was aware of the ammunition and its characteristics prior to trial. I can't wait to hear the response to this. As an initial matter, the state's argument ignores the fact that the state withheld additional related evidence beyond the ammo itself, including the supplemental report, the lapel video, and the fact that the ammo had been logged under a different case number. Touché. It's like, it's not just the rounds, it's the rounds, the video, the report, the all. Timely disclosure of the evidence, which the state doesn't argue Baldwin had any knowledge of, would have also altered Baldwin's preparation and strategy for trial. It goes on to say, to the extent that the defense may elicit evidence about Santa Fe County's investigation, the FBI testing, the HAG 3 reports, or the third HAG report, this evidence is relevant. Thus, the court properly found that the disclosure of the suppressed evidence during the course of trial has impeded the effective use of the evidence in such a way that impacts the fundamental fairness of the proceedings. At any rate, the state cites zero authority for the argument that the defendant cannot show prejudice from the state's unilateral withholding of evidence unless the defendant has no inkling of the evidence existence, which is not what the law says. The footnote says, that's not what that says. That's not how that works. And then they go on to cite multiple and numerous case law to say that's not how that works. They say the state cannot seriously argue. Your Honor, is she serious? It's the right level of fire for me today. The state cannot seriously argue that repeated violations of Rule 5-501 do not cause prejudice when the whole point of the rules is to eliminate unwarranted prejudice. Baldwin was entitled to pursue the truth at trial, especially after he requested to see all of the shit. Also, the defense doesn't have to. It's not the defense's onus to say, show me all the evidence. It's the prosecution's burden to turn it over. It's worse when it was asked for repeatedly and then not all of it was turned over. So they say they asked for everything in the state's possession, which plainly encompassed the evidence of the Teskey rounds, and yet the state deliberately withheld that evidence, even though Baldwin had requested it. Put simply, Morrissey's argument amounts to the assertion that she was entitled to violate the Constitution, Rule 5-501, deliberately hide evidence, and lie to Your Honor and the jury because Baldwin learned that someone may have delivered evidence to the state. Ouch. Evidence that Morrissey concealed during the evidence inspection and represented didn't exist in her 501 certifications. That's clearly not the law. Your Honor, I don't even know what she's talking about. She said it's like fine because it's her. Dee Marie said it's like she's never done this before. Kari Morrissey is approaching this as a defense attorney, not as a prosecutor. The jobs are very different. And Morrissey's not acting as a prosecutor. She's like, what? It's fine. And the court allowed her to get away with some of this and was like, I'm not happy. Turn it over now. We're moving forward. And this was the final thing. This was not the first thing. This was the final thing. Jolene asked, has Morrissey done this before? I don't know if she's prosecuted other cases recently because she is a private defense attorney. And it's different. They don't have a Brady obligation. But it's not hard to understand the Brady obligation. I mean, maybe I should stop saying that. It's not hard for me to understand the Brady obligation. It is the obligation of a prosecutor to make it not hard so you understand. But we saw the prosecution team, including like the assistant DA, Love, in the YSL case, being sent to like rewatch Brady videos. Like the embarrassment. These are fundamental obligations as a prosecutor that are well known and well understood. And if at some point there's a question, turn it over. If you don't know how to resolve the question, ask somebody else. Like there's other prosecutors. And if you think it might be Brady, turn it over. If you think it's not admissible, then argue that it's not admissible. You still have to turn it over. You don't get to hide things from the defense. The better option is turn something over that might not need to be turned over and argue that it's not admissible. That's not a problem. Fourth, the court correctly found that no lesser sanction could cure the fundamental unfairness of the state's misconduct. Like people straight lied. The shit was out of the horse. The bell could not be unrung. They cite a bunch of law that supports that position. In short, quote, trial courts possess broad discretionary authority to decide what sanction to impose when a discovery order is violated. The court can do what she wants. And you know what the court did? The court said, nah. Dismissed. Ned said Love was sent to DA boot camp. The entire prosecution team was ordered to watch Brady training, like during the trial when they had the long break and the new judge came in. That case is hard to follow because it's so fucking wild. It's just so wild. One of these days, maybe we will get back to some of the witness testimony and just be like, let's go through how to not do a complex trial with adverse witnesses. Today is not the day. These trials have been moving very quickly. I'm still shocked that case hasn't been dismissed yet. I'm not sure a jury will decide that case. I still don't know if that's ever going to get to a jury. That case is such a mess. It goes on to say, in short, trial courts possess broad discretion to decide what sanction to impose. As the court noted, dismissal is necessary to ensure the integrity of the judicial system and the effective administration of justice. Conclusion, for the reasons above, the court should deny the state's amended motion or, in the alternative, strike the amended motion as untimely and award Baldwin's fees. Or both. I think Baldwin should get fees. I think it's a very restrained ask. Footnote 2 goes to what statement? Footnote 2 goes to the statement that the state's misconduct had reverberations in trial, had infused into the proceeding. Footnote 2 on that says, this is how I read this in my head. This result should come as no surprise to the state. Just 3 months before the court dismissed the case, the First Judicial District Attorney's Office commented on the adoption of new rules that would require prosecutors to make additional certifications regarding, quote, the existence and stewardship of discovery. In its comment, the FJDA argued that such certifications are unnecessary because, quote, there is already an additional baked-in motivation for the state to exercise diligence. Without such stewardships and appropriate collection of the evidence, the state would risk its case at trial or beforehand. The state would be risking its case at trial beforehand. So the DA's office is like, we also need to make sure that these obligations are being met. In the federal case, the Diddy case, they not only do a full Brady obligation like statement to the court and read it out, and they're like, your Brady obligation is blah, 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 blah. They also do a written Brady obligation in every single case. So this is not hard. Lyndon said, plot twist, court orders Kari to pay Britney Spears' legal fees. There we go. Cross-jurisdiction parity. I think that, and that would be like parity equity, not parity like, haha. I think that the court could order Kari Morrissey personally to pay the attorney's fees, which would be a personal sanction, versus making the taxpayers do it. And I will be interested to see. The defense didn't ask. And Runkle said it in the chat. I thought it was restrained that they didn't ask for the fees against her personally. I think the court could still order it. I think the court could still order it. So a few of you have asked about my tech. The new Apple Watch is absolute fire. We'll talk about it in a minute. I think we are done with the motion. I'm going to zoom through some of the exhibits with you just out of nosiness, and then we'll do a summary of this. I want this hearing to happen so badly. I want to see the look on the judge's face, but we're going to go to court in New Mexico Thursday. Yes, it's going to be regarding Hannah, but this is all going to come up. I want to see Judge Summers' face. I want to see Judge Summers' face. Can I tell you how thrilled I am? Emily, you're going to sound like a completely self-absorbed content creator. Yep. Court starts on Thursday, exactly at 11 a.m. Central. Thank you, Your Honor, for considering our streaming schedule. Very demure, very mindful. Look at how we accommodate the streamers. Just being like, hey, we're all going to stream at the same time. I can't wait to see it. So Thursday, we're just popping into court to watch Morrissey and Bulls all yell at each other. I can't wait. Let's go look at some of these exhibits. We're going to swoop through exhibits. What's in here? I don't know. But we're going to find out. Let's see. Exhibit B. Oh, this is the transcript. This has been put in a couple times. These are all, for any of you who are curious about this, New Mexico has a New Mexico cases of public interest website. All of these are available. New Mexico has made them all publicly available, free. They're all up there. So if any of you want to read through these transcripts, they are all on the New Mexico website. I can put that in the description as well if any of you are interested and want to go relive this moment for yourself. I don't. Let's see. This is the court. They're going through the support of the prosecution's argument. At the end of the case, ladies and gentlemen, it says, you are going to be convinced, this is opening, you are going to be convinced beyond a reasonable doubt that on October 21st, 2021, the gun the defendant had asked to be assigned worked perfectly fine as it was designed, and that the fatal and one of the main problems that the afternoon of the 21st was that the defendant didn't do a gun safety check with an inexperienced armorer. So this is supporting that this was one of the arguments the prosecution was making. That was a jump the track mid-sentence. I can't criticize too much. I do it all the time. It happens. Rereading transcripts of yourself is not always a delight. Not because you're like, oh, wow, I could have said that better. But when this is one of the trial things. You are speaking contemporaneously all the time. Reading arguments, I do not like. Let's see. We are going to let's see. Morrissey, I'm just objecting to a compound question. Spiro, physical evidence stays the same, right? It's compound. It's like, well, it's not really memory. It's physical evidence. Judge Summer, all right, thank you. He corrected it. Spiro, and you logged all the evidence you collected in the case? Yes. And all the evidence collected by law enforcement in this case ultimately logged by you? Yes. And by logging it, you also make it available for the defense so that we have visibility into what, in fact, you collected? Yes. So this all just supports their motion. Let's see. This is Spiro's questioning. Question, how come you didn't inventory it and put it with the rest of the evidence in the Rust case? We lived all of this. Answer, I was instructed to put it in as doc information case, which I did, and it's under that case number. You buried it? No. Your lieutenant, there's a supplemental report on it, and it was placed in evidence. At the time this was going down, what I thought she meant when she said there's a supplemental report is that in the Rust case number, there was a supplemental report tying the two together, saying, hey, this thing happened. We're not sure it's connected to this case, so bridge the gap. This thing does exist over there. That's not at all what she meant when we got into the next day. And that can happen, but you have to supplement it under the main case number. You can't just like put it somewhere else and be like, oopsies, it doesn't exist. We've seen all of this. We watched all of this happen. We read all of this in Kari's motion. We know it happened in court. The defense is supporting that it happened in court. Let's see what Exhibit C is. Oh, emails. Evidence request to Popple, Morrissey, and everybody else. Good morning, all. Confirming that the evidence we know we want to pull includes the below, some of which I understand to be in the possession of the hags. All guns from the scene, prop truck, or PDQ. All ammunition, including any located at the scene, prop truck, PDQ, or used for comparison, blanks, dummies, live, Denex, to include associated boxes or bags in which any of the ammunition was located. The prop cart, bandoliers, holsters, guns, Hannah's fanny pack, all guns used by the hags for comparison. All. We want to see the gun shit. Let's see. Good afternoon. Unfortunately, I will not, this is from Popple. I will not be at this meeting April 16th. There's been a death in my family. I'll be flying out of state. I understand that this is a large undertaking to organize so many people being present at the evidence viewing. Therefore, my coworker will be pulling all the evidence, and Corporal Talamonte and Alderate will be assisting her. If you have questions beforehand, please let me know. Sarah, if you could please get me a detailed list of what is needed. That was the response. I don't like that when Popple can't be there, that the lead investigator is not there. Hancock should have been there for this. Not that the others aren't capable, but this is a very important evidence viewing, especially after the fuckery that preceded it. I don't like that the lead investigator was not even there for this. So that's a problem. Donna asked, is the hearing Thursday televised? Yes. We're going to watch it together. I might not even comment. Lies. Don't say that, Emily. I'm going to sit there and be like, what is happening? What is happening? I'll be very active in the chat, but I don't want to interrupt those proceedings. I'm going to do my best. I'm going to try to be adequately caffeinated. Kari, all those items were picked up by myself and returned to the sheriff's office. Sarah, if you have a detailed list, and then they sent back the detailed list. The detailed list being, we need to see the evidence, like the gun evidence. Doing evidence viewings, again, doing evidence viewings in cases is important. There were times I went out to crime scenes. There was a DUI case I prosecuted very early in my career, where we went out to the restaurant, and especially because I have no like mind's eye, it doesn't matter if you tell me how many ounces like a margarita is, I don't understand. So we went out to the restaurant to see how large the margaritas that were in the receipt that the defendant had been drinking were. Not only were they substantially bigger than I thought they would be, but the restaurant was like, oh no, we can give you, do you want one of the margarita glasses? So we had one of our officers come in, take one of the margarita glasses so we could use it as a demonstrative to show the jury, this is how fucking large these they were, like Mondo margaritas. They were not like a cute little margarita. They were like, we're drinking margaritas. They were like, no, you're not even getting the 3 margaritas. They were like 1 margaritas. But it's really helpful when you're showing the jury, like, look, we're not talking about whatever your perception of a margarita is. We're talking about this giant fucking margarita, which again, if you're taking an Uber, margarita it up, have a great time. But what you can't do is drink all of the margaritas and then drive. So no, not all of the margaritas. Anyway, it was very helpful for me. And early on in my career, I was like, I really need to see what things look like. And also in a photo, you can't necessarily tell how big and or small something is. So the photo of the knife that is described as a machete might be terrifying and might look like a letter opener. It's really hard to tell if you don't see the thing. So my advice for all trial attorneys, if there is physical evidence, look at it. Pictures don't always do it justice. And it doesn't help to go to the place and have some queso and cheese and check out how big the margaritas are. So massive fucking murder. I will never forget it. A friend of mine from the DA's office went with me, and the way my jaw dropped, I was like, dude, what? These are the margaritas these were the margaritas? Damn. So anywho, I was like, we need to come back here when we're not driving and get some margaritas. All right. Counsel, just a reminder that some of the items that were in evidence were admitted as exhibits in the Gutierrez trial. That included a disassembled live round from PDQ, a disassembled live round from the set of rust, and a few dummy rounds and the shoulder holster. So, hey, Kari's like, so we pull it all, make sure you're pulling stuff from Hannah's case too. So how did they miss the other ones? Or did they intentionally miss the other ones? All right, this is a whole email chain about the evidence viewing. Great. Exhibit D is more testimony. And this is the hearing, which we watched. Exhibit E are the certifications from the prosecution and that prosecution training, and that is it. They were, Robin in the chat said they were mega pint margaritas. They really were. They really were. So that is the end. I was actually fairly restrained. Like, it was a elevated level of shade. We love some smart shade. They made their point. They didn't belabor the point. At this point, there's no need to bang on about it. I think it's well taken. I think the attorney's fees will be granted. How the court does that will be interesting. I am waiting for this hearing with bated breath. I need to put this case to bed. We said case closed, and then here comes Kari Morrissey. Who said case closed? Unclosed. Let's see if we can summarize that, and then we're going to go to Q&A. We'll chat. You guys were asking me about the iPhone, and we will chat about that a little bit if you're curious, and we'll go from there. So let's see. Let me respond on. Let's see. All right. Let us try to summarize with a swoop-a-doop, and then we are going to go forward. Julia 543 in the chat said, Emily declared it closed. It's closed, Kari. I mean, dismissed with prejudice. It should have been safe to play the case closed bumper. And then Kari's like, nah. Lawyer side of me is baffled. Lawyer side of me is baffled. Content creator side of me is like, T. What are we talking about? Baldwin again, I guess. I mean, I would like to move on. We haven't done a food court in 100 years. Like, Mr. Beast is being sued. Like, there are other things happening in the world, but that's the thing about this channel. Y'all have signed up for my ADHD, and we are covering cases till they are done. One way or the other, we are going through. All right, let's go ahead and do a summary and then get to Q&A, shall we? Let's do it. The defense's response to Kari Morrissey's motion meltdown was, Your Honor, this case had been dismissed. And here comes Kari Morrissey saying that she's going to relitigate the entire thing. There were appropriate points of shade where the defense pointed out that what the prosecution has done is not only bringing all the audacity to even file this motion, but it doesn't have any legal foundation. There is no basis in law for the court to be able to change their ruling when the case was dismissed with prejudice as a sanction for discovery violations. And the defense again reminded the court, who probably needs no reminding because she's lived through this, of the repeated and replete discovery violations. And the defense is like, it wasn't just the Troy Teskey rounds. It was the rounds. It was the report. It was the lapel cam, body cam video. It was the interview. It was all of it. It wasn't just one thing. And it was willfully suppressed, as the court said. So instead of relitigating, the defense with constraint, went back through and said, this is why the court's decision should stand, which is exactly what's going to happen if this even gets to a hearing. The defense said, look, this motion doesn't conform to any of the rules at all. The court can just strike it and be like, no. I don't think the court will strike it because the defense asked for attorney's fees to have to deal with the nonsense. And I think the court is going to be very inclined to grant attorney's fees for Baldwin having to respond to these motions, for his attorneys having to read them all and respond to them all after the case was dismissed with prejudice. I think it's a very reasonable and restrained ask, and I think it will be granted. I will be curious to see if the court will grant it and make Kari Morrissey pay them personally or make the prosecution office pay for them. When you are sanctioned personally, there are some different implications with regard to the state bar. It can require and trigger self-reporting and things like that. But so will all the Brady List stuff, and so will Kari Morrissey's testimony. But here's the real tea from the defense's filing. They have an affidavit from Erlinda Johnson who says, no, I did not know anything about the Teskey rounds. I did not leave the prosecution team because I didn't want the hearing to be public, like Morrissey said on the stand. I left because I told Kari Morrissey the ethical obligation of the prosecutor when they discover Brady evidence that has not been disclosed at this point is to dismiss the case. And Kari didn't want to do so. And Erlinda said, I am not standing by this. I am walking. So the affidavit from Erlinda Johnson included in this motion was quite a surprise, but it said everything we thought Erlinda was going to say, that she fought to do the right thing. And when she was overruled by the lead prosecutor in the case, she walked away. But what we did learn is that during some of the older discovery issues that the court was quite upset with the prosecution about, Erlinda was the one who kind of came in and saved the day on those. But Kari Morrissey told Erlinda not to respond to the defense and not to be on the phone with them. T. So this behavior from Kari Morrissey was ongoing. And it was to everything. No, we don't have to turn this over. No, we don't need to turn that over. Erlinda found over 1,000 additional pages of documents that needed to be turned over after unredacting a 5,000-page discovery turnover to the defense. It was that redacted 5,000 pages that uncovered other reports. It's like, oh, we unredact this. Oh, it references another report. Oh, that report has to be turned over. And that was turned over to the defense on the eve of trial. With everything, no matter what you think about the defendant in this case, and there are strong opinions about Alec Baldwin, no matter what you think about Alec Baldwin, the concern here is that what happens when people don't have a fleet of 9 attorneys to go through motions like this, when someone like Kari Morrissey is pulling all of the fuckery. This should not happen to any defendant. It happened to happen to a defendant with the money to fight it. And we saw that play out in court live. But this should never happen. That's why there's all the Brady discovery obligations. That's why the sanctions are so strict. So no matter what you think of Baldwin, this is legally the proper result. And it was incredibly and entirely avoidable. All right, let's get to questions. You ready? I've got questions. You've got questions. We've got questions. Veritas with a very large super chat. Thank you. Genuinely seeking your professional opinion. Hashtag not legal advice. Let's see. For the sake of argument, assume I have the expertise to be certain JM's house long search did not happen at 2:27 a.m. and the defense is wrong. If I support the defense, what, if anything, Lally voice should I do about it? Veritas, this becomes more of a ethical, moral dilemma. If you are not a witness in the case, if you are a witness in the case, you should talk to your own counsel. But if you, let me think about how I want to say this. The prosecution has hired their own experts, and their own experts said the same thing. The defense doesn't have to get it right. The defense doesn't even have to put up an alternate theory. They're not obligated to. The prosecution had the experts to show that it did not happen at 2:27 a.m. You're simply saying, I agree with those experts, but I don't agree that this case should have even been brought. I don't think there's anything you have to do about it. I don't think you're obligated to reach out to the prosecution team and say, I'm also an expert in the field. I also agree, because they've already hired experts in the field. Though the defense has many holes to this case, and the defense could have gone forward on an entire defense theory saying this prosecution should never have been brought. This investigation is terrible, and we don't know what happened. The defense could have, I think, successfully defended this case without getting into everyone that was in the house. They could have focused in on those injuries don't match a vehicle collision. There's nothing from Karen Reed's car that shows that she collided with him. Her statements the morning of are someone who is hysterical and distraught and is asking what is happening, not confirming that she did a thing. And point the investigation, and the investigators. No alternative theory at all. It is sometimes tenuous for the defense to put up a theory of their own, because then the temptation for the jury can be, well, I don't agree with the defense's theory. They didn't prove that to me. The defense doesn't have to prove anything. So by putting aside a theory and the defense saying in opening, we will prove to you this whole alternate theory, it can be a very interesting tack, and maybe they won't do that in the retrial. But unless you feel ethically or morally called, unless you are subpoenaed, unless you are already a witness on the case, you're not obligated to do anything with that information other than knowing what you know. So I think that some of the technical evidence in this case regarding that search did get a bit thick for the jury to understand. But I also get the sense from the jury notes that the jury discounted a lot of that anyway and was really trying to narrow in on what did or didn't Karen Reed do. And I would like to see the defense narrow in on what Karen Reed did or didn't do. So you can just, it's your choice. Lawyer's daughter said, can the prosecutor change their theory? It becomes tenuous. They can change the way they present it, but the evidence is the evidence. So the evidence is the evidence. I don't know if the defense will hammer their alternate theory as much in a retrial, because there's so much to focus on with the what did she do? And there's a lot to focus on there. Knit One Law 2 with your member chat early on said, loved hearing you on the Vial Files episode that dropped this morning. For all of you that like reality TV or just want to hear me talk about Shannon Bedore's facelift lawsuit, that is on the Vial Files podcast. Nick and I met at the YouTube event. He happened to be in Nashville recording an episode. I happened to not be covering Donna Adelson because it pushed. So I went in yesterday and recorded an episode with Nick and team. And we talked about reality. We talked about Diddy. We talked about Shannon Bedore's lawsuit with John, who Alexis is calling Johnny, which if you guys are watching OC this season, I have thoughts. But if you want my thoughts on reality, it's on the Vial Files podcast. Miguelina, can we link it from their YouTube channel? Because I know our audience is a YouTube audience. Yes, it is. Yes, it is also on your favorite podcasting app, but it is also here on YouTube. If you want to go show it some love on YouTube, it is there, and we will share the link in the chat. And if you are in the app, I will be sharing it out into the app a little later today. So, Kate said, "Whoa, EDB and Bachelor Nation colliding." Yes. So I will share it in the app. D asked, did Shannon Bedore get prosecuted for her DUI? Yes, she's on probation. She pled guilty. She's on probation. It's covered very much this season of OC, but it is odd to watch her still socially drinking, even though she has like an ignition interlock device in her car. It's wild. So this season of this season of OC has been much. But Shannon is getting sued because she says she got a gift from her former boyfriend for $75,000. I mean, what life, right? She said the money was gifted to her by her ex-boyfriend. He said it was a loan for her facelift. What was hilarious watching this play out on OC was seeing the women being like, wait, John gave you $75,000 for like a loan and a facelift. And then they're all like, but she looks great though. The facelift really, it's snatched as fuck. Like it really is a good facelift. Wait, what do you mean you might get sued for $75,000? I mean, the facelift is really good though. So that is what is going on in Real Housewives of Orange County this season. But Shannon went through a hundreds of thousands of dollars defamation suit with Alexis Bellino's ex-husband, Jim Bellino. Now Alexis Bellino is dating her ex-boyfriend, John, who she's calling Johnny. I mean, I think the dude's like 63 years old. I don't know. It feels weird to me, but dating John, and now John is again suing Shannon for $75,000 based on an oral contract. So if you want to see all my thoughts on reality and have missed a little reality coverage, it's over on the Viall Files. We also talked to one of the members from The Golden Bachelor. It was a lovely conversation. It was fun to be part of the episode for the whole episode. And Law Nerds, if you love it, maybe we'll be back. So for those of you that love the reality crossovers, show that episode some love over on the YouTubes. And go give it some purple hearts or what have you. So let's continue on with questions. George doesn't realize you aren't a morning person. Cindy, I know it. As I was getting ready today for streaming, George was sitting on my bed meowing at me. And I'm like, dude, I want to climb back in bed too. I am ready to climb back in bed, scroll through some social, listen to my book, and hang out with you. But what I need to do is go stream. But George was like sitting on my bed, like, come on. We want to go back to sleep today. And I'm like, I do. You guys are like, no, the name Johnny is fine. He always went by John. Like he always went by John with Shannon. And now his girlfriend is like, Johnny's doing this and Johnny's doing that. It sits weird with me this season. Like it just sits weird with me this season to have Alexis, it feels odd to me the way she refers to him. So I don't like it. I don't know. It feels odd. If you don't watch that show, it might not make sense. But if you watched the show and saw John and Shannon's relationship and then see his relationship with Alexis, it's very baby voice on the phone, like, oh my God, sweetie, hey. It just is weird to me. It sits weird. And Brittany, I think that's how it feels watching it, is that it can be very infantilizing. Like, oh, Johnny needs to do this and Johnny's going to do that and Johnny, I just don't like it. So for me, it's the shift between him and his last relationship and him and this relationship. But it's more than just the Johnny J. It's the all of it. It's the baby voice on the phone. It's the excessive discussion of their sex life. It's a lot. Like, it's a lot for me. I don't like it. It doesn't feel like an adult relationship. It feels, to me, contrived for reality TV and storyline. So it sits odd with me in a lot of ways. I don't love it. Lena said Jesus Jugs and Johnny J. It sounds like a parody band. So it is. It kind of gives, the whole thing kind of gives me the ick. So all the seasons are on Peacock. I watch on Peacock because less commercials. I watch on Peacock like the day or two after it drops, less commercials. So I don't like it. I just don't. It's the whole thing's weird. The storyline over the lawsuit is weird. The quasi extortion over the video is weird. The using a embarrassing video as leverage doesn't make it not extortion-y. The whole thing is weird. The whole thing is strange. So don't like it. Don't like it at all. So let's see. I don't like this either. Singer chick, yes. I don't also like that it feels like Alexis is being shot back into this season of Real Housewives of Orange County to be a mouthpiece for John. I want to see her as a cast member, not her as being like, but my boyfriend doesn't like you. Alexis, you are an adult that has been through some life. I would like to hear your story. If we wanted to hear John's story, he could start a podcast like everyone else. Literally everyone else. Go start a podcast. I want to see her storyline, not her storyline being centered around him. So all of it bugs me. But that's maybe me being a little critical because it bugs me. It really does give me the ick. Julie said, is that the new UFO cup from Starbucks? There's a new UFO cup from Starbucks. I didn't know. This is an old diamond cut cup. They are my favorite texture cups from Starbucks because my son was cleaning up dishes after he cooked. He cooks a lot. I appreciate this about him. My teen loves to cook. But he was cleaning up his dishes. Also, I'm not going to shade him for cleaning up, but my lawnard tumbler was sitting on my drying rack. And as he went to go put the wok on the drying rack, my lawnard tumbler tumbled. So I have not gotten a new one yet because I have not endeavored to get myself a new one yet. So when the lawnard tumbler took a tumble, I have replaced it temporarily with my diamond cut cup. Music to my soul. Oh, yes. I said he could start a podcast like everybody else as a podcaster. Everybody's got a podcast. I think Teddy Mellencamp has like 5 podcasts with like everybody. Oh, there's a glow in the dark cup. Wonderful. Julia said it broke. Oh, it fell from very high up. It did. It did not all the way break, but it broke enough that I need a new lid. So it was a bummer. Lyndon said every time someone starts a podcast, Dick Harpootlian feels a disturbance in the force. Exactly. Dick's like, oh, not a podcaster. Look, in the reality section, everybody's got a podcast. Everybody's got a podcast. So long way to say, Knit 1 Law 2, thank you so much for the shout out about the Vile Files podcast. Go listen to it. It's going to be amazing. Warden, glad you're going for 40 months. I hope you guys enjoy the episode. Purple Hearts. Tori gifted 5 memberships. Thank you. I saw a question in the chat I don't know the answer to. Apple Silver, I don't know. If there are attorneys in the chat that know this better than I do not know how malpractice insurance handles sanctions, because at the DA's office, if a DA personally got sanctioned, you had to pay it. And most DAs didn't have malpractice because they have like broad immunity based on their job. And if the office had to pay it, then the office had to pay it. But I don't know in the private sector how that's handled. I'm just not sure. It's a really good question. I don't think so, because it's one of those things like insurance doesn't necessarily cover willful defamation, which is why that insurance lawsuit was going on with Amber Heard and her insurers. It's why CoffeeZilla is fighting with his insurer because he's being accused of defamation of a public figure, which is intentional. So we'll see. But I don't know. I will endeavor to find the answer, but I do not know. So Buffy said, Emily, if you could get a cup of coffee with Kari, what would you talk to her about? I have so many questions. It starts with, girl, WTF. Like, how did we even get here? Like, how did you think that was okay? I'm so curious. How do we get there? Maybe George just wants your new ear chain. He's been pretty restrained about not trying to get after the ear chain. I've been pretty good about not hitting it with like doing my hair, but yeah, it's going to happen at some point. So I love it though. I'm ready for it. I'm ready for it. Yellow Pill said Thursday's stream, hurricane party pregame. Yes, for all of you in Florida, keep an eye on the weather. I'm sure Ryan Hall, y'all will be streaming. I'm just hoping that the football game doesn't get rained on this weekend because it's homecoming weekend and I would like it to not. Our halftime show's like done through the 4th act. Like I'm excited for football this weekend. I don't want it to get rained on. I also don't want to get rained on at a festival on Saturday. So fingers crossed. Bulldog Mom in Wyoming says, watching you from St. Thomas, U.S. Virgin Islands. The Virgin Islands are so amazing. Like I've never seen water like it. So amazing. So amazing. The water is so clear that my kid, my youngest, who is sometimes a little nervous about ocean things when you can't see, the water is clear enough that you're like, oh, I can see all the way to the bottom. Perfect. We're good. So he went like snorkeling with us and stuff. It is the only place he's been so excited about doing that. Love the Virgin Islands. Alicia said, Emily makes Tuesdays better. I'm so glad. Enjoy George Cuddles. I will. I am just his substitute human, and I know it. Lost my 21-year-old kitty paw nerd Peaches on Friday. I'm so sorry. It's a hard thing. Albus was 17 when I lost her, and it was gutting. I'm still not okay. Just a reminder that pledge and paid are still not synonymous. Pledge versus donated. 38 months. Congratulations, Stacy. Ohio Palm Mom said, do you think Rashbaum blew up his practice? No, not necessarily. It's an odd situation that was avoidable, but I don't know all the details on how they decided this. I just wonder if he was trying to help friends. Like, I'm trying to help Donna. I'm trying to help Charlie. And sometimes when you're trying to help, it's really hard to also put your foot down and be like, I can't do this way. So I don't think so. I think it's unfortunate, but it's a really unique circumstance. So let's see. Casey Cat, thank you for the 5 gifted membership. I'm going to try to say this. Charles Safai, I think. Finish night shift and you're live. Perfect timing. Kara, congratulations on 18 months. Minnie says the Karen Reed case gives me terrible anxiety. We're on the adventure with it. We're just on it. We're just watching what happens. So I think trying to observe it as a neutral third party can be hard in a case with such strong feelings. Carla, happy birthday. Congratulations. Grateful that you're here and glad you're here with the law nerds. So let's see. I love that the game has Nyx. Love My Goddess. It's a really fun game. I'm glad they sponsored today. If you guys didn't download Midas Merge, it's linked in the description and stuff. It's a fun game. I'm still enjoying it. I've played it quite a lot. Maybe on a members only live, I can be convinced to disclose how many hours I've spent playing this game. Because I am a little bit embarrassed. It's been a substantial amount of hours. Colin said, out in the field combining in Alberta. Congratulations. I hope the weather is lovely for the combining efforts. Day off work and I get to catch a live. Happy day off. Let's see. Auntie Caitlin Beth said, just wanted to thank you. Your coverage of the first trial got me through the loss of my dad from pancreatic cancer. I'm so sorry. It's a hard one and it's a fast moving one and it comes out of left field. I'm very sorry. Also, can you shout out my fellow law nerd and coworker, Abby? Abby, shout out. I absolutely can. I saw the question in the chat. Judy, you got this. You are reading my mind. I'm going to put it up in the Law Nerd app, in our Law Nerd Lounge, and in the YouTube member spaces. So the Law Nerd members can friend each other in the game. So if you are a member here on YouTube, you are in the Law Nerd Lounge, you will get the information so we can invite each other in game. And if Law Nerds, if you want to friend each other, sometimes it's the only way to unlock stuff. We'll make sure you can friend each other in the game. Gretchen asked, are you going to cover Sarah Boone? I still don't have an answer. I am interested in Sarah Boone. I was more interested when she was pro per, to be perfectly honest. I am interested in Sarah Boone. I do not know if that trial is going to go when it says it's going to go. I also have some conflicts with kid stuff. And if there are timing conflicts, I will keep you in the loop of how I'm going to be covering it. It might be summaries. It might be after the fact, covering opening, closing, and key witnesses. I will keep you in the loop. I'm not sure yet, but it just depends. So it's on my docket. We will see. Should I upgrade my 15 Pro Max? Please decide. well, music to my soul, I can't decide. It's a lot of money for a new phone. The new camera is nice. The new screen is nice. This phone feels a bit thinner, but that might be because I have it in a thinner case. The battery life is longer with all things. But do you have to upgrade it from the 15 to the 16? Not necessarily. I do like the camera button quite a lot. If you take a lot of photos with your camera, the camera button on the side is quite helpful. I do very much like that. If, it is discretionary. I would go into the store, look at the screen, play with the camera, and touch it. It is longer battery lived than the other phone. And it felt heavier to me when I initially did it. And I think some of that was my glitter case was just a little chunkier, because now that I've been using it, it definitely feels thinner in this case, but some of that might be that the glitter case is a little chunky. So I enjoy it. It's beautiful, as are all new phones. But the screen gets incredibly dim, which I like. I would say dollars for dollars, the biggest upgrade was upgrading my Apple Watch. The upgrade to my Apple Watch is substantial. It is flatter against the wrist, and I love the upgrade. So if you're looking to upgrade one thing, I think the quality of life upgrade to a new Apple Watch, if you love it, might be a more noticeable difference than going from like a 15 to a 16. But then, if you're Anne with the iPhone 11, it might be time. This is a beautiful phone. It really is a beautiful phone. I like how dark the screen gets. So that's lovely. Law Nerds, I love seeing all your anniversaries in the chat. I'm here for it. Got cut due to weather. Enjoy the day off if you got some time off. All my ex gifted me was trust issues. You're like, no facelift here, just red flags. And that's the heart of the Shannon Bedore case. Was it a gift? Was it pledged or was it donated? Was it a loan or was it a gift? No, I don't think anyone's ever gifted me $75,000. That sure hasn't happened. The federal government, maybe the federal government. That's what I should have said to my student loans. How dare you? How dare you ask for it back? I thought this was a gift. What? What do you mean you want me to pay it back? It's a ridiculous amount of money. I still paid them back. May said got promoted at work in a PI firm, interviewing and reviewing court documents. Your educational coverage helped me get to this point. May, I hope every day at work is fascinating and that every day you still find something that's a surprise, because that is the thing about law. Every now and then I turn around and I'm like, I've never seen anyone do that before. It keeps you guessing. Every day is different. Leela, congratulations on 40 months. Members, it's so good seeing all of your celebrations. Love it. When are we getting new Law Nerd merch? Jessica, I have lots of new stuff in the hopper, but we are switching the way we do merch, and I have some new samples coming to me shortly. So we are working on it, but don't worry, new merch is coming. Colleen gifted 5 memberships. Thank you. But with new merch, I want to make sure it's epic. So we are taking our time. Also, ADHD, sometimes the decisions are hard for me. And I was like, okay, this is the direction we're going. And I'm very excited. Christina said, I still can't get over how this case ended up, especially since literally the day before the defense was screwed for misinterpreting Baldwin's statements would come in. I know. It was the craziest turnabout I think I've ever seen. Craziest turnabout. So Casey Cat asked if Kari could end up disbarred if she continues. She has not been warned yet. I think this would be warning, training, ethical training. She's also not a prosecutor. Could she have been fired? Yes. I would need to look at how New Mexico decides to disbar more thoroughly. Could there be, there's a lot of things that can happen with remedial measures or temporary suspensions before someone gets disbarred. But I don't think we're going to see this situation again, because I don't think Kari's going to be prosecuting anything as a special prosecutor. Allie, is there a way for Erlinda to be removed from the Brady list? I don't know how much, other than being kind of offensive, it's going to impact Erlinda, because it's so clear how the situation went down, and the court's ruling is so clear that this was not Erlinda, that I think it kind of neutralizes it. But I don't know what the process is in New Mexico for her to appeal that, and she might be able to. Let's see. So Casey Cat, again, thank you for the 5 gifted memberships. Katie says, I trust anything Erlinda says 1,000% more than what Kari Morrissey would say. Yeah, and Kari, that's what it is. Kari switched her statements multiple times in this about Erlinda. Like, don't lie on Erlinda. It's so wild. It's just so wild. Elena, I saw in the chat your question about how do you join the Lawnerd Lounge. We will pop a link in there for the Lawnerd Lounge so that you can just hit the link and join from desktop. It's the easiest way to do it. So we will pop that in below at lawnerdlounge.com. Emily, you should probably check and make sure that you hooked that website up. Hold on. No, not yet. Not that one. Not that one yet. The other one. Where is it? Hold on. Where is my other website? Let me find it. Give me 30 seconds. We have another link that Octo sent to me so that I would never lose it. And then I lost it. Hold on. Here we go. And then I need to get the other one set up. It's on my list. My team has so many things that they're like, Emily, you need to do this. And I was like, I'm in New York. I need to record a podcast and that's it. Bye. So the link I just posted in the chat is the link to join the lounge at Lawnerd's Rock. So I'm going to pin that real quick. Can I? How can I pin? Pin me. Pin me. Me not letting me pin. Nope. I don't know why. Miguelina, do you mind pinning that? It won't let me pin it. I don't know if I'm signed in wrong. Maybe I am. It won't let me pin me. Oh no, it's because I'm in the wrong spot. Hold on. Emily, because you can't pin things from StreamYard. I was in the wrong side of the chat. Thank you, Miguelina. So that's how you join the lounge. And I'll go put that up soon. Let's set it in my head her name is Kerosene from now on. Yeah, the kerosene does go with kerosene. And I don't mind the shout out to the interrupters. They're great. So Angie said, EDB, I officially have a bachelor's in kinesiology. Congratulations. Couldn't have done it without the Lawnards and you in the background on long days of studying. Angie, we are here to be your study partners. We are here to be your partners in all things because this chat is incredibly productive on stream days. Me less so. But I get to assuage my curiosity about all the shit that's going on in law, so it all works. Doug said complex case is a lot easier than admitting corruption. Just saying, Doug. Still, bringing in a special prosecutor instead of using someone within the prosecutor's office doesn't make a ton of sense to me. It just doesn't make a ton of sense to me. It really doesn't. Miss DLS says, I just saw Finger 11 3 doors down in Creed. Oh my God, that sounds amazing. Creed is coming here in November. I wonder if that's the same opening lineup. Done. I'm going. I need to buy tickets immediately. Done. Thea asked, how was meeting the fitness marshal? I follow Caleb and his workout videos. Have you tried any of them? I also follow Caleb's workout videos. I modify them because I am not as good as he is. I've met Caleb a couple times. He's amazing. He's a ton of fun. He's amazing. I think he's great. So Caleb and I had a lot of fun at the YouTube event. I also had reached out to him beforehand because I knew we were both going to be there. I'm like, I'm so glad I know someone and I have a friend because I don't know anyone who's going to be here. And then I ended up knowing more people than I thought I was going to know. And then there were times I would go up to other creators and be like, hey, I don't know how to not be awkward, but I'm glad to see you here. I like your videos. And they're like, oh my God, I followed XYZ trial with you. And I'm like, wait, no, really? And they're like, yeah, really? I'm like, shocked. I'm shocked. But it's nice to meet you. And so it was a lot of pushing creators out of their comfort zones. And we had creators from Canada and the UK. Creator Summit was a really fun event. It was a small event. We'll talk more about it in our next Members Only Live, but I don't want to go on and on. But it was a really fun event. I, again, saw a lot of creators I had met through YouTube at VidCon, saw a lot of the YouTube team that I know, got to know the YouTube live streaming team a little bit more because I don't interact with them as much as like the products team and some of the other teams. So it was really nice. It was great. So Caleb is lovely, and it was nice to see him and others and get to know people. I did not skate at roller skating night, but we talk about that on the Vile Files today. Tony said Kevin from Epic Gardening. Kevin is salt of the earth, just 10 out of 10. Is such an incredibly insightful human, but also just a lot of fun. We had a great time getting to sit and chat. It was great. It was absolutely great. So I loved it. I was glad I was invited. It was nice to be in New York, to get to go to the Google headquarters there, get to see new friends, get to see folks I interact with online for the first time. Introduced a bunch of people to the delight of a Carajillo. Hopefully didn't get the bartender in trouble. The bartender's like, I can do a Carajillo, but it's not on like the YouTube bought out the entire hotel where we were at. They're like, it's not on our like little like YouTube menu, but I can totally do a Carajillo. And then the creators I was hanging out with were like, what is that? I'm like, okay, so the bartender said don't tell anybody, but they can do a Carajillo. And then everybody was like, bet. And I'm like, I'm so sorry. So we also tipped the bartender in addition to whatever YouTube was doing, but we're like, I'm sorry. I just shared that it was a really good drink. They are amazing. So for those of you that don't know what a Carajillo is, it is a specific type of liquor whose name I am forgetting, and whiskey and stuff. It is fantastic. It's like an elevated espresso martini. It's got a bit of a chocolatey vanilla flavor to it. So good. I mean, I did tell the internet now, because y'all aren't going to go to the same bar and order Carajillos. You're going to go to your own bar and order Carajillos. They are amazing. Alias said, my favorite all-time drink. You know who introduced me to the Carajillo? Attorney Michael Saltz. Attorney Michael Saltz is who introduced me to the glory of the Carajillo. And it is a favorite. Absolutely a favorite. So good. Can I spell it? No. But some of the chat did. There we go. Brandon, thank you for the support. So some of you are like, favorite all time? Yep. So a Carajillo. KMM says, does Dr. B like his new Apple Watch? It does alert him to phone calls. And the screen is easier to see. Even though the watch is not like bigger, it is easier to see. So love it. Love it the most. Let's see. So that is kind of what we've been up to. I'm going to look for 2 more questions, and then it's been 3 hours and 15 minutes. How? Close up of the manicure. I put it in the Lawnard Lounge, and I can't close up because some of the embellishments have popped off. We've got little rhinestones on here, but it is chromey, it is purpley, it is 3D gel. I'll put up a photo in the member spaces too. But I went with the rhinestones because right before the trip, YouTube is like, so our like event evening theme is Rhinestone Rodeo. And I'm like, okay, I can put rhinestones on the nail. I can do that. That I can do. Devlin said, celebrating 1 year in remission for my hubby. Congratulations. That is a fantastic, fantastic point. Let's see. So that was the close up of the manicure. Kyla said concert last night. Green Day, Smashing Pumpkins, Rancid. That sounds amazing. That sounds amazing. There's so many good tours going on right now. I need to like sit down and actually look at everything that's coming to Nash, because there are so many shows coming. Let's see. Gracefully Broken said, if we do the Lawnard Lounge, then are we a member on YouTube? Nope, the lounge is separate. YouTube members have YouTube members. The lounge is separate, but you have access to the members only videos, and you have access to the members only behind the scenes and stuff like that, but it doesn't give you the badge and the highlighted name. So, all right, Lawnards, it has been 3 hours and 15 minutes. We have a long court day on Thursday. I'm going to figure out how we're going to do that. New podcast tomorrow. I'll be in the chat for it. Cindy, thank you. Cindy said it is Liquor 43. Thank you. I appreciate it. And then Crazy Asian said, have a good day. Appreciate you guys. Thank you for being here. Thank you for being a Lawnard. I will go put in our friend information for our sponsor today in the Lawnard Lounge and in the YouTube member spaces. and accept as many of those as I can. Don't forget, you guys can friend each other in game. If you don't want to do that, you don't have to share it. Perfectly fine. I will see you back Thursday for court. I'll be in the chat Wednesday. Stay tuned on the apps for all the things. Lots of behind the scenes coming. And our next Members Only Live, we're going to talk all about the YouTube Creator Summit. It was fun. It was a lot of fun. I was glad I was there. Law Nerds. Oh, and don't forget to go check out the File Files podcast and give them some purple hearts, because I had a good time having the conversation. And for those of you that love all the pop culture and have been missing it amidst all of the like murder, go check it out. It will hit your pop culture fix for at least today. And I'll see you guys in the next one. Bye.
You can stay up to date with everything I'm covering and fast notifications on our free iOS and Android app at lawnerdapp.com, or search the App Store for Law Nerd. You can also follow me around social media. And don't forget to check out my podcast, The Emily Show, with quick bits dropping every Monday, summarizing everything I do here on the live streams on Tuesday and Thursday for when you just have time for the quick bits. Thanks for being a Law Nerd.